All right.
All right, let's see if that did it. Pull up chat here. Let me know if you can see and or hear me. Is our volume okay right now? Yeah. Hey, Scurvy. Hi, I'm welcome. Video and audio. Thank you, Lenina. Excellent. Volume is good? Let me know. Well, welcome to Paleontologizing, everybody. Happy Sunday. I don't normally stream on Sundays, but when we're out in the field, I'm streaming whenever I can, so I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. Hopefully you know already that a paleontologist is a fossil scientist, meaning like a scientist who studies fossils. I work on dinosaur fossils in particular, and that's exactly what we're digging up here in the Badlands of western Wyoming. Really glad you could make it, whether you're watching live right now. Hello, chat. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon to you too, Cast the Dreamer. Yeah, and it is clear blue sky day today at Lowaku Titak. Yeah, beautiful day, isn't it? We have also got some storm clouds, so there is a chance we'll get rained out if that ends up hitting us. We shall see. Live broadcast. Anything can happen. Anyway, as a dinosaur paleontologist, dinosaurs are what I study, what I dig up, what I publish on, and what I talk about here on Twitch. Again, so whether you're watching live or whether you're watching in the VOD, hello everybody watching from the future, either on Twitch or on YouTube. I'm glad you're here. We're broadcasting a live dinosaur dig. We've got what will very likely be a new genus or species of duckbill dinosaur up there in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation down here in Wyoming, kind of near the town of Green River. Kind of a middle of nowhere place, but beautiful, and we're really, really lucky to be here. I'm really lucky to be able to broadcast to you. So glad you're here. Let me know if you've got any questions, because that's really the bread and butter of these broadcasts, is answering your questions and kind of showing you what's going on over here. Will we get some gluing and plastering done today? Anonymous? Yeah, that's the plan. We've got some jackets to make today, and I'm going to be setting the camera down so I can participate in that. So you're going to have static view for a while, not meaning it'll be obscured by static, meaning that you're going to be in one place as I help out with the jacketing. Barry, and good day to you too. Welcome. Yeah. And what dinosaurs are in Wyoming, asks Emptied Bane. A bunch of them. We've got Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops, and Ankylosaurus and Pachycephalosaurus from Wyoming, from the Late Cretaceous. And then from the Jurassic, we've got such dinosaurs as Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, Barosaurus, Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, and Camarasaurus, all from the Morrison Formation, Late Jurassic, places near like Como Bluff and areas like that. Wyoming is an excellent state to be finding dinosaurs in, but we're working in some rocks that are largely unexplored. This is the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation, rocks about 73 million years old, and there are 0 dinosaurs that are named from this formation, which means that just about anything we find stands a really, really good shot of being new. A new species or even a new genus. So pretty exciting stuff. And this duckbill dinosaur that we're digging up here stands a very good shot of being new too. Just finished watching yesterday's stream. Very cool, Miss Mina. And now here we are live. Welcome. Yeah. So yeah, let's go take a look at the quarry and meet the crew for today as well. So again, lucky to be here with the cool kids today. Yeah, we've got Josh.
Howdy.
And we've got Luke.
What's going on, everybody?
And we've got Ken. That's Paleo Ken from chat, everybody, in the flesh. Here he is. He's joining us for one day. This is some dedication here. He drove in from Colorado this morning, and he's hanging out with us for one day before he's got to go back to work. So everybody say hi to Ken. You know him from chat, and here he is. So yeah, and this is our duckbill dinosaur right here we're digging up. Quarry should look a good deal different from the last time I was here. So just drink that in, you know? This is like a spot the differences sort of thing, except in 3D. But look at this wall over here, you guys. This is I haven't seen this yet today.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, that is awesome, Luke. Holy cow. Nice. We've got bits of bone up here. There's a piece of lower jaw right there. It's glued on, or else I'd pick it up and show you the alveoli for the teeth. But what is this right here?
Bone core right
Yeah, nice. A little bit of bone there, and then we've got this kind of ironstone concretion stuff around it. This is a cool site. Thank you, Ken. We got more bone down here too. Whiter stuff. This bone texture in there, that trabecular texture. Yeah. Oh yeah. Again, maybe not the prettiest. Maybe it doesn't look like it does in the movies, but this is the real deal. And let's see here. Everybody's saying hi to Ken. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. This site in particular it's got not just scientific interest, but you could almost say archaeological interest. When guys found this back in 2021, it became clear that someone had been here before. There's a famous paleontologist by the name of Barnum Brown who was doing some collecting in this area back in 1937. I think it was one of his last summers in the field. And he's a pretty famous paleontologist. He discovered Tyrannosaurus rex, for instance. Yeah, and so he was here in 1937, kind of poking around, excavating at different sites. He'd never ended up naming any of the dinosaurs from here, or even really publishing on them. But we think that this was one of his sites, because parts of it have clearly been dug already, and there was a rusty bucket that we found, which seems to be consistent with what you'd expect a bucket to look like if it were there since 1937. It was kind of buried under some sagebrush. Clearly, it's, a very antique sort of thing. Whoever was digging here also left that bucket there. So anyway, we are kind of cleaning up those leftovers. They never ended up collecting this. There's like all kinds of bits of scattered bone on the surface and a bunch that's still in situ. So we're getting this thing out, and it's going to end up at the Cincinnati Museum Center in Cincinnati, Ohio, where it will be held in the public trust and studied by scientists and enjoyed by the public. So, yeah, we're kind of doing a public service out here if you think about it that way. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad you're along for the ride, everybody. Let me catch up to chat. Barry Ann says, was he from Nantucket? No, Barnum Brown was born in Kansas, and then he ended up moving to New York City, working in the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. He was famous as a dinosaur paleontologist. He had the nickname Mr. Bones, and a bunch of other nicknames. Colorful guy, interesting personality, and man, he did a ton of field work around the world. Western North America, southern Canada, India, Burma, Argentina, all kinds of different places. Barnum Brown really got around. But he was right here in southwest Wyoming back in 1937. And this is one of those dinosaurs we think he was digging up and then gave up on. He almost died that summer because of the weather. They had this huge storm that swept through, and a lot of their gear got destroyed, and they got separated from each other and from the town. The roads got washed out, bridges got destroyed, and they nearly froze to death during the downpour. It was only due to some, real ingenuity that they were able to build a fire using old cigarette paper and gasoline and spark plugs from the vehicle. They were able to start a fire, keep that going, keep from freezing to death. I'll read you that story the next time I remember to come out here, and when we're at this site, I'll bring Barnum Brown's biography out here. I'll read you that excerpt. Yeah. And no weather forecast back then, at least not to the extent we have that today. No. And Science Streams, hello. Did you just rate in? Science Streams says we did an IRL at an aquarium chatting science of sea animals. That sounds super cool. Is that the one in Georgia? The Georgia aquarium with the whale sharks? That sounds super, super neat. I hope it was excellent. And let's see. Oh, in New Jersey today. Oh, very cool, Science Streams. I hope that was wonderful. Pretty neat. Can we get another shout out for Science Streams real quick? if you like science, if you like ants, if you like hearing scientists actually talk about their work, real-life scientists who conduct research and publish papers and stream on Twitch 8 days a week, follow Science Streams. I am honored to be able to call Bulent a friend, and really looking forward to seeing him at TwitchCon this year, hopefully. But yeah. Anyway, Bulent, hope you're doing well. Things are good out here in western Wyoming. That blue sky over here, and then we've got clouds and lightning strikes over there. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to avoid the worst of the weather, although these clouds do seem to be drifting in this direction. Wind has changed. Yeah. So there's a chance we could get hit by some of this. And yeah, there's more lightning over there. Too far away to hear, but you could see it. We shall see, huh? Emptied Bane says, pretty early over here at the Philippines. It's almost 5 a.m. Well, aren't you an early bird? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It is currently 2:55 p.m. or thereabouts. 2:53 here in Wyoming. Mountain time. And here comes a raid from FN Tire Guy. 23 Raiders, how you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here, and welcome to wild and beautiful western Wyoming, where we're digging up some dinosaurs. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I study dinosaurs, I publish on them in the scientific literature, and during the summers, I dig them up. And nowadays, I get to stream that, so you can watch. So, there's 3 members of our crew over here, and we're digging up a duckbill dinosaur, what could very well be a new species or even a new genus of duckbill dinosaur. We're very excited about that. And we've been working hard at this site. We got to get this one finished soon. This is kind of our top priority. So, yeah. And how hot is it out there? You could use the weather command. It doesn't feel very hot at the moment. It's probably in the mid-80s. And these clouds are honestly really helping a lot. It's nice. Although they're not necessarily helping the solar panels right now. Powering our satellite dish and giving us internet here. We have a duckbill and a ceratopsian? Oh yeah, and we've got more Dr. Hubs too. We'll probably, hopefully, be finding some more critters this summer. Also, we don't have any tyrannosaurs. We don't really have any ankylosaurs. We don't really have any leptoceratopsids or nithymimosaurs or pachycephalosaurs or anything like that. It'd be nice to find them, because they were here. We just need to find them. Anyway, this is what makes our stream possible here. Satellite dish, router, solar battery, and solar panels, which I really ought to clean when I get back to camp. They're looking awful dusty, and that probably inhibits their ability to generate electricity at least a little bit. Yes, unionids, exactly, Dr. Hubs. And Jim was telling me about those unionid clams. Let me read his text, because I don't know a lot about those. But Jim certainly does. Or he knows more than I do, at least. A lot more than I do. He says, unionid bivalve larvae have an obligate parasitic relationship globally with fish as a dispersal mechanism. Oh, and we got a runaway hat here. Oh, F's in the chat for Ken. Oh, is that your hat?
I put that string on for a reason. And the one time I take the hat off, the wind kicks up.
You get that gust, yeah.
Thanks, Ken.
One of the many hazards of fieldwork in Wyoming is wind swiping your hat. Yeah, that's why I got a leather hat, a bit heavier. You're a saint, Ken.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Get back on my head, gal, darn it.
I appreciate the PG-rated interjections there.
PG up here.
Oh yeah, always, all the time.
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
any.
We don't want to offend any dinosaur fans or anything.
Certainly not. No, especially not on public land.
Yeah, of course. You never know who's gonna do that.
Anyway, Yeah. Oh, Jim sent me a text about unionid clams, and yeah. We'll go back to that site in a little bit, and in a few days, I'm sure. Yeah. And we're not at the dog site since we would have the dog fetch it, says Ava Little. I don't think Edie would fetch a hat. She kind of barely fetches a ball. I'm not sure she'd know how to handle a hat. But, yeah, she's over at the Hadrosaur skin site. The Lexington Hadrosaur, as it's called. Yeah. And what? No hat strings, says Barian? On my hat? No. Don't need it. No, this is a really nicely fitting hat. I've had this hat for 16 years now. This has been with me in the field every season. This is its 13th season out digging fossils. Not all of them dinosaurs. I've spent, part of summer 2019, I was digging fossil fish in Nevada, in the Cenozoic. But every other time I've been digging dinosaurs and had this hat with me. And the lizards are too small for such language. Exactly, Samarfa. Yeah.
Ontogeny.
And it's lived in. There you go, astronomy show. Yes, indeed. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. Yeah. And Cast the Dreamer, there's strings on that hat. He just took it off for a minute, and then the wind absconded with it. And how long are you digging in a summer? Asks Dr. Quamps. Great question. Yeah. So we started digging here in Wyoming on June 1st, and we'll be going until the 29th or 30th, something like that. And then I'm taking a 2-week break, going home to the San Francisco Bay Area. And then after that, it's out to Utah. I'll be digging in Utah, near the town of Moab, from mid-July to mid-August. And I'll be streaming there, too. So I hope you can tune in. Very different kind of situation there. A bit chiller than what we've got going on here, in a sense. Where we can, walk to our site from camp. Yeah. Out here, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. There is also out in the middle of nowhere. Arguably the same amount of remoteness, even more remote even. But yeah, it's more comfy. We've got a more well-established camp and everything. We could just leave the stuff at our court. You'll see when we're out there. It's always nice to take a break and fly your hat. There you go, Pyrian. Yeah. Do lizards do push-ups when offended? Well, Cast the Dreamer, we had one yesterday doing that on camera. Lizard just stood still, came right up with the camera, started doing push-ups at us. And we're like, oh boy, that's a muscular lizard doing that prison workout. We better scram. So we did before the situation got even more hairy. Who is calling me? Oh, Ethan's calling me. Hang on a second. All right. Hey, Ethan, how's it going? Oh, yeah, you bet. We could do that. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye. Did he text you about that? Spencer's on his way. Yeah. Cool. So he doesn't know how to find us, though. So maybe somebody flag him down or go find him. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Yeah. All right. We're having another crew member showing up. Awesome. Yeah. So there goes Josh. Go find him. Good. Spencer was feeling slightly woozy this morning. They had a really strenuous day yesterday, carrying some of the jackets back down to the vehicle. It's probably about a half mile or a mile walk from here to where the vehicles can park. And so it was a lot of work. Big 200-pound jacket. It's probably more than 200 pounds, honestly. And yeah. So we told Spencer to kind of take the morning off, rest up, drink a bunch of water, and it sounds like he's recovered now, which is excellent. We're lucky to have him here. It's going to be good. Yeah. And Spencer is en route, exactly. And Lenina, you even spelled it correctly. He does spell it with 2 S's instead of a C. And And let's see, did you hear about the road collapse in Wyoming? Yeah, my mom called me about that this morning. Kind of all flustered. But that's in a different part of Wyoming. That's up near Yellowstone and Grand Teton and Jackson Hole. So that's in the northern part of the state. We're down in the southern part of the state here, so shouldn't affect us. Yeah, thankfully. Hopefully they can get that situation resolved. Hopefully everybody's safe. But that's going to make it tough to be able to travel from parts of Idaho to parts of Wyoming and Montana. So hopefully they get that situation under control. That sounds rough. I noticed how his family is spelling it in chat. Nice, Lenina. I didn't even see that. Yeah. Did you get more salt in him as well? Yep, we made sure of that, Dino Dax. Absolutely. Yeah. And let's see. And if money was not a factor, asks Ava Little, what one piece of big tech would you like for the dig site, other than a sunscreen booth that you can step into? You know what? Let's ask the guys about that. Because that's a good question. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think there's awesome, like, beautiful that's what I want. I want to be like, oh, I don't know what kind of exactly, right? Yeah.
See the lightning over there?
Oh, did we get some over there?
Oh, there's a bunch over there. It's been going on.
Yeah.
It's too far away to hear, but...
Good thing it's over there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Spencer found his way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Colorado.
Yeah, that's actually way over in Maine over there. So, yeah. No, we're all good.
Oops.
We had a question in chat. If money was no object and we could get one big, like, technological thing for field work, what would it be?
Helicopter.
Helicopter?
Yeah.
I like that, yeah.
Some kind of a hover ship that could just come and
Wait, is it
right up.
Yeah,
just
Republic gunship, maybe,
Yeah.
like we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
Is it just
Yeah.
money that's the factor, or are we looking for like anything that could help like future technology wise?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's just like for field work specifically. I don't know. I guess Republic, old Republic gunships don't really exist.
Talking
so.
about,
But with enough money, we could change that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, something to haul stuff out.
That would be really nice to have a helicopter shoot. Or some sort of like enormous drone. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thanks guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, do time machines count? That's a good question, Cassidy. I don't know. I'm not making the rules here. You'll have to ask Ava a little. Yeah. Yeah. Site-to-site transporter. There you go, Jody Fish. Yeah. And on the other hand, a helicopter is not exactly discreet. Good point, Ms. Blue Skies. Good point. We are trying to not attract much attention here. Don't want poachers moving in and, smashing up our sites or anything, like happens down in Utah. And I'm sure happens in Wyoming, too. We know it happened in Montana at least a few times. Yeah. I think an ancient dino doggo, says Barnacle Bone. What dino dog? What is that? Sniff out the fossil bones. I mean, we do that with our eyes. We do a good enough job finding this stuff in the first place. That's what we do. And we've got no shortage of sites to work right now, which is pretty cool. We've got 4 different sites working concurrently at the moment. And, yeah. We've got more fossils than we know what to do with at present. That's a good feeling. Because every single one of these is going to be scientifically important. And Toner Bellin says, how far was your site from the inland sea in the Cretaceous? Really, really close. In fact, we're in the Almond Formation right here, in the Late Cretaceous. You move up in section a little bit, and then you get to the Lewis Shale, I believe it's called. Yeah, which is marine. So we're kind of in between when this area was underwater, when the seaway retreated a little bit, and then it comes back after the Almond Formation. So we're right down here by the beach, where this is a near-shore environment, where we're getting floodplains, we're getting marshes, we're getting, bogs and rivers and oxbow lakes and stuff like that. We're right down near the coast, which is funny to think about, because nowadays Wyoming is not near the coast at all. But when sea levels were higher, the middle of North America was underwater, under a shallow, kind of semi-tropical sea. Think about like the Mediterranean or the Caribbean today. Same kind of deal, just in the middle of North America, covering Kansas and Nebraska and the Dakotas and Texas, Oklahoma. Yeah. I think you should just build a museum there, says Birion. We don't have the money for that. Man, that would be nice, but we don't have that kind of dough. At least not yet. Never say never. And sounds like a nice vacation spot 70 million years ago. Agreed. Yeah. 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 Let's see. An interesting Crimson Carnotaurus. Yeah. Big Russian helicopter needed repairs. So I've been on a crew before where we had a helicopter. It's like an OH-6 or something like that. The military version of it is called a Cayuse. We had one of those at the Yoshi's Trike site in 2011, and because it was in really rough terrain, really, really heavy jackets, we weren't going to be able to get those up and to the vehicles to transport back to the museum without a helicopter. And so Jack Horner called in a helicopter for us, flew all the way out from Idaho. It arrived and it got all of the jackets except for the really big one. The biggest jacket with the Triceratops hips in it was too heavy to lift. And so we had to leave it there for another month until Jack could call in a Huey to be able to get that out. So sometimes helicopters are no match for dinosaurs. They're just too heavy. It happens. And OH-6 little recon helicopters, exactly, Crimson Carnotaurus, yeah. I think you'd be very happy with the logging helicopter, says Birion. I've been in some helicopters in the field before, and it's always a good time. We don't have that kind of money here, nor that kind of support. So anything that we're getting back to the laboratory, we got to carry it to the vehicles on our backs, or on a stretcher, or use manpower to get this stuff out of here. I would say people power, but it's all guys on the crew this year so far. So it is literally manpower. Yeah. And darn, that stinks. Yeah, Deathsaurus, it does. Be nice to have some women in camp. 20 guys is, it's fun, but yeah. Let's see. Need mules or burros? Well, what would we feed them? And how would we transport them? You would need like a trailer to be able to bring them around to different sites, because some of these sites are miles and miles apart from each other. We do have mules and burros. They're called undergraduates. No match for a helicopter, but your Prius can deal with it. Bingo, Anonymous. Yes. You sometimes see stuff about National Guard and Army Chinooks and sky cranes getting involved with lifting specimens. Yeah, Crimson Carnotaurus, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I guess that's illegal nowadays. That's big business for you. And is pouching on dig sites illegal? It's very rare, Ava Little. I don't think there are any marsupials in Wyoming. You got to go to other states for that. You might get opossums in other parts of the U.S. and Mexico. They've got pouches. South America's got a lot of different species of opossum. And then Australia, of course, famous for its marsupials, all of which have pouches. But yeah, I don't think there's any laws against being a marsupial, last I checked. Virginia for sure. There you go, Samarfe. Yeah. Yeah, no, but to answer your question, yeah, definitely poaching is illegal. Whether it's on private land or public land. That's the reason it's poaching, It would be legitimate collecting if it weren't, if it were legal. Poaching implies that it's illegal. Taking vertebrate fossils like Important scientific specimens off of public land without a permit is very much illegal. That is a federal crime. And private land, I think it can vary based on the jurisdiction, but that's also not cool. We're digging on both public and private land this year, but we've got permission and permits and, leeway to be able to do all of that stuff. So we're doing everything very much by the book, and with the enthusiastic cooperation of the Bureau of Land Management, who have been very good to us. The BLM has been wonderful, and we're very grateful for their support and their enthusiasm about this. Yeah. In fact, it's sometimes we got to be like, hey, Bureau of Land Management officials, we know you're really excited about these dinosaurs, but try not to talk about it too much, back in town, because we don't really want the public to know about this just yet. We don't want our sites to get poached. We don't want commercial collectors moving in, that kind of thing, Yeah. We're lucky that this is still kind of the early stages of this kind of field work where nobody knows about this yet, which is lovely. And Queen Dark Lady says, if someone owns land, do they own the fossils that may be found on it? In most cases in the U.S., yes. A lot of other countries have more sensible laws around this kind of thing. Like if a specimen is really scientifically important, then it belongs to the people of that country, not to some private landowner. Because these things have existed for, tens or hundreds of millions of years, and they've laid there in the rock for that long, just buying up the land. It's like, well, do you think you own this? But here in the U.S., where the almighty dollar rules everything, private land ownership means that you also own all of the fossils. And even regardless of how scientifically important they might be, you could dig them up and sell them off to the highest bidder. You could, throw them into a lake. You could give them to your dog to chew on, whatever. And it's like, that's your right as a member of the property owning class. But I digress. If you find a fossil, it's legal to take it? It's illegal to take it. Yeah, for vertebrate fossils. For invertebrates, like for critters that don't have bones, we're talking about fossil clams. We're talking about non-animals like plants, too. Anything that's not a vertebrate, anything that doesn't have a backbone, I think there's like a reasonable limit for how much you can take for a private collection, for like personal use. You can't go out and like mine stuff, but if you find a trilobite or an ammonite or a clam or something like that, you can usually collect it on public land as long as it's like for personal use, for a personal collection. On public land. Private land, I think it still belongs to the landowner, regardless. And let's see. Because those types of fossils are in much larger abundance, right? Asked Mold. Generally, yes. Generally, invertebrates, generally speaking, are more common than vertebrate fossils. And they require a lot less effort to collect, because they tend to be smaller, too. When we're talking about a clam versus, say, a dinosaur skeleton. Anyway, let's go over say hi to Spencer over here, if that's cool. Put you on the spot. Howdy, Spencer.
Howdy.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Feeling better?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So for those just joining us, we're here in western Wyoming digging up a duckbill dinosaur and making some excellent progress, I think. How long do you think this is going to take, Luke? I remember you saying this earlier.
I am still optimistic that we can get a big jacket on this whole thing, the big main thing, by the end of the day tomorrow.
So like this part over here with the dennery? Yeah.
I think so.
Nice.
We're definitely going to get 3 little jackets over here for these elements.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a little bit more work to do here, as the surface is kind of eroding off of these big sandstone blocks.
Uh-huh.
It gets pretty flaky down here, and there's some pretty, I don't know if it's poorly preserved bone, but definitely not as nice as some of the stuff on the surface. So
Right.
we're taking our time collecting those, and once we wrap that up and we get to the rest of the sandstone contact,
We'll see what's in there, yeah.
we'll see what's in there, and
Yeah.
it should be good to
Awesome.
collect this thing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. We're getting this done faster than I anticipated. You've been doing a bang-up job here, for sure. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody who's been working out here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. I'll leave you alone for a minute.
All right.
Come back.
And how would you move a jacket that big? Asked Ms. Blue Skies with a lot of manpower, and slowly and carefully. You know, when we're trying to carry it over terrain like this, you pick the flattest route that you can get, and you just kind of move slowly and, yeah, try not to go up and down hills. You might zigzag across the landscape. We try and zigzag rather than undulate, because the undulation is where things get hairy sometimes. And how long does a dinosaur excavation take typically? Oak regard, there is no real typically. It could be anything from a couple minutes, if it's really small and you just have like a few teeth or something like that, up to years and years or even decades if it's a particularly large site with a lot of dinosaur element, like multiple dinosaurs. Think about the quarry wall at Dinosaur National Monument. So, yeah, there's no standard answer for this kind of thing. For a site like this right here, we've been working at it for 9 days so far. And it looks like we've got maybe I'd say probably at least another 5 days. But we shall see. Every site is different. Every site takes its own amount of time. Every site has got its challenges or things that are easy about it. Every site's got different kinds of like scientific importance. Yeah. And then you get other things too, like do you have enough crew members on a given day? Do you run out of a certain kind of supply and you've got to postpone for a while so that you can get more of it? What's the weather doing? Do you get rained out for a day or two? All of these things complicate it even further. So I really can't give you a standard answer because the standard answer for that doesn't exist. It's wild out here. Anything can happen. And Diz is Living says, how did you find this one? So a crew member found this site back in 2021, just out prospecting. Prospecting is when you walk along and you look at the ground, you look for anything that might be bone. Pick it up, you turn it over, and nope, that's some sandstone there. You do that until you find some chunks of bone, then you follow those into the source, and hopefully you've got a skeleton there. That's a gross oversimplification, but that's, trying to be pithy about this. And every site is sacred, it's true, Fall Machine. And, yeah, but also this is, ouch. Who was biting me right there? Is that an ant? Goodness. An ant biting me. I squished it, I'm sorry, ant. But, it's the risk you run when you bite a paleontologist. Yeah, so one of the cool things about this site, sorry for repeating this for the dozenth time, if not much, much more than that, is that we think that this was worked by paleontologist Barnum Brown back in the 30s. He was out here in 1937 in this part of Wyoming. Finding new sites, excavating dinosaurs. He did bring a few back to New York, and he never published on them. We think this is one of the sites that he started digging into, because there's obvious evidence of digging here. But he never ended up collecting it. So we found that a bunch of these bones had already been dug. The sediment was really loose, and there was an old rusty bucket here that shows that someone had been here long before us. And we suspect it was old Barnum Brown. And there's the man himself. Barnum Brown. Around this same time, this would have been close to 1937, I think, this photograph was taken. But there he is with a big old rib, and him in his field garb. Sometimes called the greatest dinosaur hunter who ever lived. He discovered Tyrannosaurus rex, for instance. One of the most famous of the 20th century dinosaur paleontologists. Let's see here. Other questions? It'd be cool to have a prospecting live stream, Deathsaurus. It would not be possible, yeah. Because in order for me to be able to stream from here, I've got to be tethered to the Wi-Fi. And prospecting means walking usually miles and miles and miles. So I've got to be much more mobile than this allows. In order to live stream from the field, I have to be close enough to the wireless router and the satellite dish, and I can't move those around. They've got to be stationary, so sorry, we're not going to do a prospecting stream. Also, I would not be able to prospect perfectly. Like, I wouldn't be able to actually do any work. It would be very contrived. Because in order to prospect, you have to be able to walk along, really concentrate. You're looking at every single rock or bit of crud, everything on the surface. And your brain is just kind of working through those, looking at them, trying to figure out what they are, processing. It requires a lot of concentration. It's not the sort of thing that you could live stream. It just would not work. Unless I was just totally silent. And I don't think that would be quite as fun to watch, you know? Yeah. And what are the chances or amount of time it takes to prospect something interesting? Yeah, Kahani, great question. Again, it's always different. You might find something in your first couple minutes of prospecting, or it might take days or weeks before you find something good. It all depends on a zillion different factors. Like, are you looking in the right kind of area? Like, what is a depositional setting? You might spend, weeks looking through these like big massive sandstones in a given area and then not find anything at all until the last day, and then you find a complete skeleton just articulated in the sandstone. And it happens. It always depends. Yeah. Let's see. And does a Starlink give you a decent amount of range of area? It's like 100 feet or something before the signal starts to cut out, if it's direct line of sight. If I'm not direct line of sight, it's like 50 feet or something like that. So it's pretty good, but it's not superb. And are y'all volunteers? Trying to read your username. It's tough on this background. Mr. T-Dog. Yes, here we are. So none of us are getting paid to be here. None of us right now. Except for me, I guess. I'm streaming. This is how I make my living. It's through Twitch. But everybody else is taking time away from their day jobs, from other obligations, from school, stuff like that, to be able to come out here. So, yeah, we do not have the budget to be able to pay anybody. In fact, our Twitch community has contributed a sizable sum to be able to make sure that we can do fieldwork this summer. Yeah. I wish we had the kind of money where we could pay everybody, but fortunately we don't live in that kind of world. There's very little funding for fossil science. Digging up dinosaurs is not a lucrative career. It does not pay well, if it pays at all. And finding funding for this kind of work can be very, very difficult. Which is ridiculous, because dinosaurs are incredibly cool, and paleontology provides us, an incredible context to be able to understand our place in the history of life on Earth, and in turn our place in the universe. Without fossil science, we wouldn't have that. But there's very little money for it. Yeah. It's not one of those things that makes the rich richer, And is there a university or museum behind the dig? Absolutely, I have a little, yeah. So we're collecting for the Museum Center in Cincinnati. That's our official repository for these fossils. So the museum in Cincinnati has agreed to take these fossils on and keep them in perpetuity there in the museum, including all of the expense that goes along with that for housing those fossils, cleaning them, preparing them, all that stuff. And they're the institution that we put on our permit applications so that we can actually go out here and dig on public land. So that sort of thing is really important. And yeah, we're really lucky that the museum in Cincinnati is so keen on this. And they sent 4 people out, including curator Glenn Storrs. This is actually his last full day out here, along with Takuya and Bob and Cameron. And they've really been enjoying being out here, and we've really enjoyed having them out here. They actually came to visit our site this morning for one last look before they've got to drive back up to Ohio. They're starting out tomorrow, going back there. And let's see. Oh, and that command isn't quite right. I don't know who typed that up for Nightbot, but it's the Cincinnati Museum Center is the name of that museum. Yeah, at Union Terminal. Yeah, thank you for putting that command together, whoever did that. But the actual name is Cincinnati Museum Center. Cincinnati History Museum is probably a different institution. I don't know. And let's see. How much does a permit application cost? It's free, Head of Broccoli. It's free. Because we don't have the budget for that kind of thing. And the Bureau of Land Management, gives those permits out for free. That's part of what they do in trying to protect these public lands and kind of manage the resources on them. It's a tough job that the BLM has to do, and it's really a thankless job most of the time. Especially out here, back east in Wyoming, as I would say, being from California. But, back east in places like, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, Montana, the BLM gets a lot of guff for doing what they do, but they're trying to balance all these different interests. Scientific interests, land preservation, ecology, the interests of the wildlife, and then logging and mining and hunting and off-roading and all of that stuff. The BLM has to make a lot of decisions there, and they do their best to try and make everybody happy while protecting the land. And they'll never make everybody happy. I don't know. It's easy to gripe about the Bureau of Land Management, but they've been very good to us, and I'm very grateful to the BLM. So, thank you. If any BLM folks are watching, you're doing important work. We appreciate you. Let me check on my battery here because I don't want it to die like yesterday. What are we at? We're at 52%. Let's see. In 1 hour, moderators, would you mind reminding me to you know what? Hang on a second. Set a timer for 45 minutes. Excellent. Good. I could do that myself. Beautiful. Forgot I'm connected to the internet. I can use the Google Assistant. And from Naughty Eric, thank you, Linda, for reposting. How many different states have you been digging up dinosaurs in? So I have dug up dinosaurs mostly in Montana, because I lived in Montana for the better part of a decade, working at a whole bunch of different sites across the state. Back when I was with Museum of the Rockies and the Badlands Dinosaur Museum and institutions like that. Collected fossils for the Great Plains Dinosaur Museum and for the Carter County Museum. So lots of stuff in Montana for I spent, I think, about 8 summers in the field in Montana. And then since then, I've been working down in Utah and also here in Wyoming. I've collected fossils in other states as well. Also Idaho. Yeah. So... And then I've collected fossil fish in Nevada. So if we're talking about fossils in general... Oh, in California too. So I've collected fossils in order, California, Montana, Utah, Wyoming, and Nevada should have been the third one. So 5 different states so far. I don't think I'm missing any. Yeah. So, 1/10 of all the U.S. states. It's not too shabby, if you ask me. And are you cloning dinosaurs? Be honest. I wish, I see view. I wish. We don't have any dinosaur DNA. That stuff doesn't last that long. DNA seems to be a very fragile biomolecule. It does not last for longer than maybe a few million years. And the last of the non-bird dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago. The dinosaur that we're digging up here lived, as far as we can tell, 73 million years ago. So there's not going to be any DNA left, as near as we can tell. And even if there was a little bit, good luck cloning something like that. We talked about this a little bit the other day, but, we can't even clone birds today, like living birds. Nobody's been able to clone birds. And we have the entire genetic sequence for birds. We have them flying around. We can collect as much DNA as we want. And so far it's been impossible to clone any birds. Because their egg is very, very large compared to the tiny little, like, beginning of the embryo in there that you would need to get into. The nucleus is way, 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 way smaller than the egg. Dinosaurs would have had the same issue because birds evolved from dinosaurs. It's the same setup. Dinosaurs laid eggs too. So the idea of like cloning a dinosaur is pretty far-fetched, it seems. Maybe someday, if we manage to get DNA, and if we figure out how to clone birds and that just becomes a run-of-the-mill thing, then maybe you'll be able to clone a Mesozoic dinosaur, but I doubt it. If that ever is possible, it'll be probably hundreds of years from now. Yeah. And let's see here. And are you yourself attached to a university or museum? I'm here attached to Paleontologizing, Crimson Carnotaurus. That's, I'm freelancing right now. Although I do work with a few different museums, but I'm not, like, employed by them or anything. I collect specimens for them. I conduct research with them. I help them out whenever I can. Organizations like the Utah Geological Survey, the University of Utah, like Natural History Museum of Utah, Cincinnati Museum Center, institutions like that. But I'm not employed by anybody like that. I'm self-employed. I work here, streaming on Twitch. Let's see. Continue on. And Charcone says, I've seen someone raise a chicken from an egg that had been opened already fully. Could that help? So, no. That's really, really old. And people have been able to do that for like hundreds of years. To be able to like just cut a big incision in a chicken egg and be able to watch the embryo grow. That's child's play. That's super, super simple. Yeah. Cloning a chicken is far, far, far more difficult than that. So far, it's been impossible with the technology that we have currently. Yeah. But who knows? Maybe in the future, we'll be able to clone birds. That'd be lovely to be able to bring things like or at least create a facsimile of a critter like a dodo. But it's not really possible yet. And ICU says it'll most likely be solved by AI. I doubt that. AI is not all it's cracked up to be. I can tell you. I know that's blasphemous to say on something like Twitch, where everybody's all excited about technology, but yeah, much of the current stuff around AI seems to be just hype. There's a lot of fakery going on too, so yeah, it can help with a lot of things for certain, but cloning a dinosaur, that's like a fundamental problem where you don't have the DNA and nobody's been able to clone birds. Like those are two completely insurmountable problems thus far. I don't think AI is completely irrelevant to the situation, honestly. Yeah. Yeah. And let's see. Manipulate the growth of a chicken's development in the egg. Yeah, Crimson Carnotaurus, that's the Dino Chicken Project. That is a thing going on. But it's not... It is creating a dinosaur from a pre-existing dinosaur. Chickens are already dinosaurs. All birds are dinosaurs. And so the idea is that you could just kind of modify a chicken embryo to be able to get it to grow claws on its hands, teeth in its mouth, a long bony tail, something superficially similar to a velociraptor. But it's not the same as like cloning dinosaurs a la Jurassic Park. It's much, much, much more feasible. In fact, most of those parts have already been figured out by various laboratories. Right now they're working on the tail, and that turns out to be really, really tricky to get the tail to lengthen. Because chickens actually develop kind of an appreciably long tail as the baby chick is developing in the egg. And then there's a gene that starts to express, and then the tail gets resorbed. So the tail basically gets destroyed as the little chick is developing inside the egg. And it turns out that when you try and stop that from happening, it's like fatal error, and the chick doesn't hatch. The embryo dies. So figuring out how to do that, how to keep the tail from shortening, how to keep those vertebrae from fusing up, it turns out to be really difficult, but that could potentially turn out to be a cure for some horrible human diseases, things like ankylosing spondylitis, which is a disease in which your spinal column, the vertebrae start to fuse together. It's debilitating and, I've heard, very painful. So, it might seem frivolous to let's, learn about development by creating something that superficially looks like a velociraptor from a chicken. But that's how scientific advances are made. That's how we learn about how embryos develop. That's how we may be able to cure diseases like ankylosing spondylitis. So I think that's pretty cool. My old boss, Jack Horner, that was kind of his brainchild, that whole dino chicken project. And he's been working on that for, it's going to be a couple decades pretty soon. And a really dull gamer says, do you find any mainstream viewed topics in your field pretty controversial? There's some stuff about dinosaur ontogeny that, I don't know, I've got disagreements with some colleagues about for certain. But, there's always disagreements in science. That's the thing, is that when you're on the frontier of human knowledge, when you're working on stuff that nobody really understands yet, there's going to be controversies, there's going to be disagreements, there's going to be even arguments. But at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We're all trying to find out what's true. That's what science is about. Testing ideas using evidence to figure out what's true. It's what we do. So yeah, I'm not going to get into too much detail about some of the things that I might have disagreements with other colleagues about, because it's not always the most interesting thing. What's really interesting to me is making new discoveries and being able to figure stuff out with newfound evidence. That's what we're trying to do out here in the field. Digging up this dinosaur specimen will help us understand the evolution of duckbill dinosaurs through the late Cretaceous. We'll be able to kind of fill in a gap, stick in a missing puzzle piece to make a more complete picture of the evolution of these critters toward the end of the age of dinosaurs. No tea spilling here. There you go, Lenina. But yeah. And I did work for Jack Horner, yeah. Oh, cool. Osteodontocheratic. What a great name. Yeah. So I was at Museum of the Rockies back when Jack Horner was running the show. And, yeah, we used to collect specimens for him, and I worked with some of his graduate students as well, back when I was an undergrad there. It was a ton of fun. Really cool to be part of a program that was that big, But I came in kind of when they were starting to go into a decline, and it's eventually why I left Montana. It just wasn't the same anymore after he left. And let's see. I really need to clean off this phone and maybe this lens too. Let me see if I've got some of those wipes. I think I've got enough that I'm not going to run out if I start using them. This is the first one I'll have used so far. So let me give you a little clean here, chat. In fact, I might even have them in here. Are they in here? Bingo. Nice. Alright. And let's see here too. 44%. Oh, we're fine. Yeah. Good. Plug in a little bit. There we are. And thank you, Diz is Living, for supporting the channel on Ko-Fi. I appreciate that. I'll have to check that out in a little bit. Thank you for your generosity. Alright. Pocket the wrapper so that doesn't end up on the ground somewhere. And let me clean you off, chat. I'm hoping most of this is just dust and not scratches on the lens. But there we go. Excellent. And now for this. Cleaning up the phone screen. Get rid of that glare. Excellent. Alright, cool. Yeah, thanks Danny, I feel clean. You bet, Frozeniak. Yeah. Hey, does anybody need a glasses wipe? I don't want to waste the rest of it. Yeah.
I'll take it. Why not?
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How's things going over here?
Better now that you're here.
Yeah. Everybody in chat, say hello to the crew. Again, we've got Ken, Spencer, Josh, and Luke. And Luke is putting some separator. Or is that a gypsona?
Got a gypsona going.
Very nice. Yeah, we used to call those plaster grenades.
Plaster
when I was
grenade,
with
I
the
like
Museum of
that.
the Rockies. Yeah.
They are nice. I do love a gypsona.
Yeah. So it's like a self-contained medical bandage. Rather than using burlap and plaster of Paris and mixing them together, this
It's kind of already a little plaster ready to go.
it's like a TV dinner version of.
That's a good way to put it.
burlap and
Good
plaster,
analogy
yeah.
there. Yeah, totally.
Just add water.
Instant jacket.
Yeah. Yeah. So Luke's just putting that in some water there, and then there. Do we have any idea what this element is? And that is a heck of a pedestal job you did. It's just
Thanks,
sticking up
right?
like Devil's Tower.
You know, I'm not quite sure what it is. We have bone kind of intermixed with a bit of iron concretion in there.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just kind of getting it all in here.
Nice.
And they can figure that out back in the lab.
There you go. That's their job.
Yeah.
We've got difficult conditions out here in the field, so we'll leave the tricky stuff to the people in the lab.
It's so clear. I was blind and now I see. Here. There's still, like, you could still absolutely use that.
Nice. I've got more of those in camp too if you ever desperately need one.
Thank you, Danny.
I try and ration them, but I've got enough where I can share with you guys if you really need them.
Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, you bet.
Appreciate
You
it,
bet.
dude.
I drove out here. Everybody else flew, it seems, so I can bring a bunch of stuff in my car. But cool. Anyway, good job, guys. Nice.
Right on.
And I think we may have just gotten a raid, did we? Let's see here. Or maybe just some new people trickling in. But for anybody who is new here, welcome to Paleontologizing.
Welcome back to reality.
Yeah. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm broadcasting to you live via satellite from wild and woolly western Wyoming. It's not super windy right now, which is nice, and it's not super hot or super sunny. We've got some clouds going overhead, lowering the temperature and making things quite pleasant. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, it's a good day for streaming. It's a good day for digging dinosaurs. I'm glad you could join us. Let me know if you've got any questions. And Head of Broccoli says anything over 85 degrees Fahrenheit makes me melt. Well, shoot. Hopefully you'll be okay watching our fieldwork in Utah in July and August, because it's going to be like 115 degrees. It'll be 20 degrees hotter than what you just said out there. It might even get hotter this year. Maybe we'll get up to 120, 125. We'll see, With rising global temperatures, we'll see what happens. Oh, boy. And Great Gatsbeetle, what a great name. 99 here in San Antonio. Well, well, well. I hope you're someplace cool and air-conditioned, escaping that heat. We can't really do that when we're out in the middle of nowhere like we are now. You just have to take it. So that's why I'm so glad that we've got these clouds overhead right now, keeping us cool. And what's the temperature there on site, Denjoga? I'm guessing it's probably in the low 80s right now. I'd say it's probably 82 or something. But I'm not particularly good at estimating temperatures. Yeah. Just, put me in some shorts, and I can withstand just about anything. Yeah. And Cody Sheeby says, yep, always dreading the Austin summers. I can imagine. Yeah, oh boy, and it's just going to get hotter as the years go by. Oof. Yeah. Don't want to think about that. You need a pop-up canopy? Oh, Paranoid Android You will see when we're in Utah, we've got the king of shade tarps himself, Utah Assistant State Paleontologist Don DeBlue, to keep us cool out there. So Don is the shade tarp master. He's been erecting different shade tarps at different sites for decades, and he's very keen on keeping the crew cool. It'll still be like 100+ degrees in the shade, but you know, it might lower the temperature under the shade tarp by about 10 degrees or so, which is essential when you're out there doing field work in the heat of a eastern Utah summer. You'll see that in just over a month. I'll be out there in Utah digging dinosaurs, and you can see our shade tarp setup. It's pretty tops. It's pretty tops. You're gonna like it. And that one, guys, is what has been found today. So we're continuing work at our Hadrosaur site. This is the Barnum Brown Hadrosaur, and we've got 4 crew members over there working on it at present. We're really enjoying these clouds right now, making things so much nicer than they would otherwise be. Just drinking that in. And have you worked on a site that was a nightmare to run because of poor conditions? Asked Crimson Carnotaurus. Sometimes, you know, things get so bad that they just get funny. And I've been at some sites like that before. I've been at some sites when it was just, you know, because that day it was incredibly windy, it just makes you want to bash your head against a rock. I've been at some sites like that in the Hell Creek. We just had a windstorm one time that lasted for like 4 days, just constant 40-mile-per-hour gusts, you know, or 40-mile-per-hour wind with like 60 or 70-mile-per-hour gusts. It was horrendous. The sort of weather that just really, that's probably my least favorite kind of weather. I can deal with rain, I can deal with hail, I can deal with snow or extreme heat, but just constant unrelenting wind is the sort of thing that can drive you insane. And we had that out there for like 4 days. And I had some personal stuff going on in my life that already made things intolerable, and that was just, it was horrendous. So, anyway, I'm really glad we don't have that right now. And, I don't know, in a much better place in life, too. So, things are good. And were they torpedoing your ability to effectively extract the specimens? Not so much that. It was just, psychologically, it took a huge toll. Just having that constant wind just whipping against your face, also blowing dust everywhere. It did make it more difficult to collect, but it's mostly just a psychological thing. Just constant, unrelenting wind. Awful. And NLA Sour says, I was inspired by your stream and found some places in southwest Wyoming that let the public engage in fossil hunting. Yeah, like the Green River Formation? Stuff like that? Yeah. Are there any ethical issues you have with that? Limited resource, keeping fossils? I mean, anytime you're collecting vertebrate fossils, the fossils of animals with a backbone that tend to be much more rare than invertebrates in a lot of circumstances, there could be some ethical quandaries, but a lot of the stuff in southwest Wyoming, especially when you're in the Green River Formation, digging up those fossil fish, there are so many of those fossil fish, literally hundreds of thousands or millions of them, that you're not going to be harming science if you find some, you know, Nischia or Diplomystis or fishes like that. There's so many that museums don't even want them. They've already got full collections for the most part. But more rare stuff, if we're talking about fossils of early horses from the Green River Formation, or fossil birds, maybe some of the rarer fishes like paddlefish or stingrays, stuff like that, or fossil bats. The oldest fossil bats ever found, the first bats that we have fossils of, the very earliest to have evolved, are from the Green River Formation here in Wyoming. And those, apparently, there's rumors that there are some in private collections. They would be extremely scientifically important, but they'll never get published on, probably, because they just disappeared into a private collection somewhere. I have issues with that, certainly. But for the most part, if you're getting fishes from the Green River Formation, that's yeah, that's cool. You know, I'm totally cool with that. Find some fossils, get inspired, show your friends and family. You know, spread that around. Unless you find something really, really rare, then, you know, see if you can get that into a museum, along with the proper documentation, so you can help advance our science. And let's see. Wow, bats in Wyoming? Well, bats live in Wyoming today, Milky Hoots. We've got some around camp. But those are the earliest bats known from around the world, as far as I know, are from the Green River Formation of Wyoming, about 50 million years old. And the thing is, they're pretty well formed as bats. Like, it's not like they're super, you know, like, oh, they only have half of a wing or something like that. Like, no, they're clearly recognizable as bats. Bats are not easy to fossilize, so they've got probably a big old ghost lineage right there. They may have even developed during the Cretaceous. Maybe bats first evolved back then. I doubt it, but there is a chance, because we just don't know exactly when they originated. I'm guessing it's not too long after the KPG extinction, after the asteroid, but, you know, we won't know until we find more fossils. And are there bat caves in Wyoming? Certainly, Tankcraft, yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Whoop, chat's moving fast. VNDZ Vins says new here. Cool that what you guys are doing. The only thing that disappoints me were the whips on your belts. Oh, very funny. Yeah, that's not something that we use in the field, but I do usually if I'm out prospecting or something. I'll have a second belt on with a digging knife. I've got a U.S. Marines combat knife, like a K-bar, and then a rock hammer. So it's kind of on like a gun belt. And I'll wear that when I'm out prospecting because it's just an excellent way to carry your hammer and your knife. Not having to hold it in your hands as you're scrambling up outcrop and picking over rocks and stuff like that looking for fossils. Yeah, but you know, this is the real deal. We're out here collecting for the Cincinnati Museum Center in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation of western Wyoming. And we've got a duckbill dinosaur here, which, if we're lucky at all, odds are we will be, it'll be a new species or even a new genus of duck-billed dinosaur that we got up here. And I do have a snake stick, yeah, and Simplex Pachenko, definitely. That's back in the Prius, though. I didn't bring it with me to the site. And do you have to worry about wildlife while prospecting? Are there any big predators in that area? I have... Well, shoot, back in 2015, I was out prospecting in the Hell Creek Formation of eastern Montana, and just started to get kind of a weird feeling walking around. Just going all over these hills, kind of far away from the rest of the crew, looking for new sites, looking for fossil bones sticking out of the ground. And then I came up with this like overhang with this big sandstone block, kind of like this. There's that sandstone there at the top of this ridge. It's kind of like that, but much, much bigger. And it was a really, really hot day, so I stopped underneath one of those sandstone ledges. Picture that's like jutting out about 20 feet, and that's what it was like. So I'm just sitting there in the shade, trying to cool off, wiping the sweat off my brow, drinking water, and then just kind of a weird smell. What is that? I look around a little bit, and there's all these deer bones all over the place. Deer and pronghorn bones, and probably bones of other mammals too. Fresh bone. You know, not fossil bone. Bone from an animal that was recently killed. And then I started to see the scats. Big white scats, you know, poop, all dried out. And I said, shoot, this is a mountain lion den. So I left right after that. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna hang out here. I made sure to unsnap the little catch on my knife too. Not like that was actually gonna do any good. If a mountain lion wanted to eat me then, it would have snuck right up on me. I would have never known what was coming. This would have been a swift bite at the base of the skull. I'd have been a goner. But, yeah, reassured me a little bit just to make sure the knife was at the ready. But yeah, I've never seen a live mountain lion in the field. But I think we found a mountain lion skull one time, which is really cool. kind of barely recognizable. It was all chunked up. And then I know Kerry Woodruff, a friend and colleague of mine, he's seen a mountain lion at least once up in Rudyard, Montana, right outside the quarry. Like he got to the quarry early one morning and then just, boom, you know, there goes the hind legs and the tail. Mountain lion just hightailing it out of there. So yeah, they're definitely around here. They're around this part of the world, but they don't bother us. We don't bother them. We try and keep our distance, and we got a good arrangement going there. Kitty would win that fight. You bet, Gojira. As she should. And Vice the Fallen says, no bear spray or other protection other than up-close combat solution? We don't encounter critters like that often enough to really worry about it. I do have bear spray in my car, but I don't carry it with me when I'm out prospecting. Although one time when I was right on the Montana-Idaho border, we were right there like on the Continental Divide pretty much, 9,000 feet elevation. And we did have bear spray in camp, and I think I carried bear spray with me when I was out prospecting. We were looking for dinosaur footprints, and we found a bunch of them. That was great. It was like just about a week of field work, not very long. But there are definitely grizzly bears up there, and they rule the roost. You don't want to mess with them. But that same, I didn't see any grizzlies, but one morning it was like 6 o'clock a.m., and I get out of my camping hammock, and I like stumble down into this gully so that I can use the restroom. And then you get that feeling, it's like, you feel like you're being watched. Maybe it was I heard some sort of a sound and didn't realize that what it was, but I turn around. There's this big female moose just like 30 feet away, just staring at me. And so I tried to look as, non-threatening as possible. I look back at her, and then she just turns around and walks away. But moose can be really dangerous too, especially if you have dogs that chase after the moose and provoke them. Like, that moose might kick that dog and then might come after you if she feels threatened. So it's sometimes a good idea to have dogs on a leash if you're in moose territory, because dogs can definitely provoke them. Yeah. And there you go, Vice of Great. Yeah. A moose is fine. A moose with a calf, not good. There you go, Charlie's Dragon. Sometimes even without a calf, they can be aggressive if they feel threatened. So, yeah, just try not to look threatening at all, and they'll leave you alone for the most part. That's what I've been told. And moose are likely to wreck you than a bear. Exactly, Gojira. Yeah. Buffalo are also a threat. Yeah, but we didn't have any bison out there, Jandra. Bison typically, they're not like free roaming in Montana in the same way that moose or elk or deer or bears are. Bison are usually contained. I think that might even be a state law that you're not allowed to have free bison are not allowed to roam free. There's organizations like the American Prairie Reserve that I've worked with that are trying to change that, trying to bring back free roaming bison, but there's a lot of pushback against that project. Because ranchers see bison as competition with their cattle, and they don't want that out there, so. Yeah. And yeah, Yellowstone. Yeah, so I don't know. We think of Yellowstone as kind of being fenced in that regard, Frozen Yak. There are free-roaming bison there in the park, but they're not actually allowed to leave the park grounds without getting shot, usually. They're like these big hunts that get organized so that if bison try and migrate outside of Yellowstone, they just get gunned down. It's really sad, honestly. Yeah, it's because bison can spread diseases to their cattle, says Mighty Kingfisher. It's actually the other way around. So brucellosis was originally from the cattle. It wreaks havoc upon cattle, and then it was spread from cattle to bison. Bison, it doesn't really hurt them, but bison can spread it back to the cattle, and that can kill them. Oh yeah. That's my understanding, at least. And astronomy show, yeah, black bears. Black bears they're usually pretty timid. They don't want to be around people. They're scared. They'll run away. There's a rhyme that you can use to remember this. like how you should react if a bear is aggressive toward you. Black bears, brown bears, aka grizzly bears, and then polar bears. So the rhyme goes, if it's black, fight back. Because if a black bear is trying to attack you, it's probably trying to eat you. It's very, very rare. So like if a black bear does something really unusual, like actually try and attack you, it's probably trying to, engage in predation. It's probably trying to eat you. So fight back. Don't become a prey item. If it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lie down. Grizzly bears, they're probably not going to try and eat you. They will attack just to threaten you, to get you to submit. They might have cubs nearby, so just, if it's brown, lie down and cover up your head and neck, because they're just trying to, scare you. They're usually not trying to actually eat you. So then, polar bear, if it's white, good night. They are trying to eat you, and they will. Yeah. Don't mess around with polar bears. And how's the dig going? Says Ace Fox. Really well, really well. I'll show you the site in a minute. Here, but the first confirmed black bear death. Yeah, in California, there was a crew member who came in and told us that news. Yeah. And PJNO Thingman says, how is the color of dinosaurs determined? That's a great question. Usually we have to guess. When I was a kid, the conventional wisdom was, we'll never know what color dinosaurs were. So, if you're coloring a dinosaur, just dump out the whole box of crayons and go nuts. Because, who cares? We'll never know. But we've actually started to figure that out for a few dinosaurs. And you need a few specific things in order to make that happen. You need preserved skin or preserved feathers. So you need some kind of integument. You need the exterior of the animal preserved as a fossil. And that it's rare, but it does happen. And you can actually study that preserved skin or feathers. You can look for melanosomes inside. You can look for actual color cells. And so different kinds of like colored skin or feathers will have different shapes to their cells. Those melanosomes will be different shapes. And so what we can do is study modern animals, look at the shapes of their color cells, and then we can use that to interpret the melanosomes, the color cells, in dinosaur fossils. So there's a few different dinosaurs we've been able to do this for. Borealopelta is a big armored dinosaur, big ankylosaur from up in Canada. We know it was kind of a rusty reddish orange. It was darker on top and lighter underneath. An example of counter shading. Then we have dinosaurs like Sinosauropteryx from China, which is also orange, darker on top, lighter underneath, but it's got white stripes running down its tail, almost like a ringtail lemur or something like that. So there's not many dinosaurs that we can determine this for. There's probably fewer than a dozen different dinosaur species or genera. But there's more and more as we go on. And apparently up at the Mother's Day site in Montana, where they've got these diplodocid dinosaurs, they've got preserved skin there, and they might even have melanosomes, so they might be able to figure out what colors a young Diplodocus or similar dinosaur was. It's really exciting. And a stripe pattern, Asian Saurolophus. I'm not sure about that one, Carnotaurus, but Brachylophosaurus from is it from South Dakota or Montana? There's a specimen nicknamed Leonardo at the Great Plains Dinosaur Museum in Malta, Montana. And he seems to have stripes on his tail too, like kind of light colored stripes. And again, dark on top, light underneath for the body. Counter shading. It's a pattern you see in lots and lots and lots of different animals. It's kind of the default sort of color scheme, all other things being equal. And are there limitations to the type of melanosomes we can detect? Or in theory, uncover the entire rainbow? Casey Snort? Great question. I'm not totally sure about that. I do know that there's a dinosaur called Kaihong from China. And it's sometimes called the rainbow dinosaur because we know it had like iridescent feathers. The melanosomes seem to indicate iridescence like we see in crows and ravens and magpies and critters like that. in its feathers. It's a feathered dinosaur, Kaihong. And let's see. And Frozen Yak says, Danny, do any dinosaur digs allow the average noob citizen to participate? Yeah, ours, right here. We've got a bunch of people on our crew this summer who are totally green. You know, brand new. Rookies, greenhorns. And we're teaching them how to dig dinosaurs. There's a bunch of different crews. Generally, if there is a crew, they will accept people who don't have experience as long as there's a reasonable assumption that they'll be good in the field. You know, they'll be okay sleeping in a tent for weeks at a time. You know, dealing with harsh conditions out in the middle of nowhere, that kind of thing. Generally, if you can put up with those kinds of conditions, hopefully you can be taught to be able to collect fossils and be of help on a crew like this. So, yeah. In fact, let's talk about experience up here a little bit. Let's go talk to the crew. And, yeah. And Western Kansas, FFEJ Warrior. I've never been to Western Kansas, but there are fossils from there, for certain. From, like, you know, the Western Interior Seaway. There's lots and lots of fossils from Western Kansas, back when that area was underwater during the Cretaceous. Yeah, definitely a hotbed for Cretaceous fossils. We had a question in chat about people volunteering, and we're not taking volunteer applications or anything for this crew. I want to make that clear. But I wanted to emphasize that, like, you know, we need volunteers on crews like this. And if you're interested in volunteering on a dinosaur dig, reach out to your local museum. I thought maybe we'd go around and just talk about, like, levels of experience and stuff like that. So, Ken, how long have you been doing field work in this kind of a setting?
Weekends-wise, I probably have about a month and a half of experience at this point. Between
That's
2 years.
it, really?
Well, no, I could
I thought
only
it was
do
way more than that.
weekends. I could only do
Exactly,
weekends.
yeah. Ken's a working man, so he comes out here on the weekends.
Yeah, so about
Yeah.
a month and a half.
Nice.
Between 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. Spencer, this is your second time in the field, right?
Third.
Third?
Third time in the field.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first time was with a community college. You can take, some colleges allow for courses in the field.
Uh-huh.
The second, I went on a dig with a university. And then this time, with Ethan's crew.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. And then Luke does this sort of thing for a living. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been probably doing field work in general for like six-ish years, I think. Yeah, and I love to get out with as many museums and professors and curators and all that kind of thing whenever I can.
Yeah. Who'd you get your start with?
The Denver Museum.
Nice.
I was an intern. I got hired as an intern for a 2-week dig out in the Waweep Formation out in Grand Staircase.
I heard it's rough out there in the Waweep.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's
Yeah.
pretty remote. Yeah. It wasn't like, I know out there in the Kaparowitz Formation they do, like they'll drop you off in a helicopter. It's
Right.
so remote out there.
It's
but-
wilderness, so there's no wheeled vehicles that are allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to have skids on the helicopter.
Yeah. It's it was a good time though. I love it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and then Josh over here. Yeah. Is older brother to our expedition lead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
So you've been out here. Was 2021 your first field season?
I've been out here since Ethan has come out for the first time.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
pretty much every time he's out here, I'm out here.
Nice. Out here in Wyoming. Did you ever participate in digs and stuff like that? Because I know he's been doing this since he was like 13 or something, right?
So yeah, he's been doing this for like as long as I can remember.
Uh-huh.
I've only ever participated in his digs.
Nice.
Not that I wouldn't want to do others, of course.
Yeah.
But I have work and all the other stuff
Yeah.
that I love to do. So,
Yeah.
but not that this isn't something that I love to do because it's a good time.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no. Actually, came out with Ethan, just him and I. We came out here to prospect to see if we could find anything at all to get started, to see if this was actually going to work out. And we found nothing for a while. And then I think it was the last day. We were both kind of over it, a little sick of being out here. And Ethan found the tiniest little bone shard. And I haven't seen him so excited.
Yeah.
And
It's proof
and
this
then-
stuff is here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he holds it up, and it's the first time I've seen a bone in the field. And he goes, "There's dinosaurs out here." And been here ever since.
Nice.
So,
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah. Cool. So yeah, it takes all types. And also, I want to point out too, while we've got Josh right here, do you want to show some of your tattoos and talk about your line of work?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. I'm a professional tattoo artist. We actually tattooed some people out here
Last night.
in the field last night.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to do it again tonight.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe ask them if they want to join in.
Yeah. Shoot. I don't know if we'll be able to stream that. We'll have to check. That might even be TOS or something, but
Yeah,
I'll figure it out.
No idea, right?
But yeah. Never really thought about that. But we're getting some crew members with some tattoos out here that Josh has been doing. That's been pretty unique, I think. It's gonna be a new.
Strictly paleo tattoos. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing like obscure.
Yeah.
And
And-
little almonds.
Yeah. We'll show you one of those in a minute that Luke has got. But what's your Instagram if people want to look you up?
My Instagram is Atticus ATTICUS .Warner WARNER tattoos.
Nice.
Tattoos.
Can we get a link for that in chat?
Atticus .Warner tattoos. Instagram.
Nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. If you're ever in the Salt Lake area, this guy is
Please.
good.
Please hit me up.
And I was kind of amazed. Nobody was wincing last night. Like, it didn't seem like it was painful at all. Like,
I've been
you've
told
got a
I've
light touch,
Pretty
apparently.
light hand, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been tattooed by some pretty heavy-handed tattoo artists, and I don't want to do that to people.
Yeah.
You can make it stay forever without it
Uh-huh.
hurting like
Yeah.
crazy. So,
Doug has got a ton of tattoos, and he's like, yeah, that's the easiest one I've ever gotten. So,
love to hear
so
it.
yeah, if you want to get a tattoo and you're in the Salt Lake area and you don't like pain,
Yeah.
check out Josh.
I'm your man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the plug. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and what was it again? So a mod can type it into
It is ATTICUS
Atticus.
.Warner WARNER
Yeah.
tattoos.
Nice. Thank you, Josh. Cool.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
And would we mind if we do you mind if we could see that, Luke, when you're done writing?
I've still got my bandage on it,
Yeah.
so if it does look, I'd rather have this bandage on it than getting
Yeah,
a bunch
definitely.
of getting a bunch of old 73 million year old dirt stuck in there.
Don't want to get that Cretaceous
That
tetanus.
Cretaceous dirt. But yeah, there's my little almond.
Yeah, for the almond formation that we're digging in here.
Yeah,
That is beautiful. This is the first time I've actually seen it up
it's
close.
really good.
That's awesome.
I love my little
With
almond.
the wrap on, but like with the wrap off, you'll see.
Oh, yeah.
nice and crisp tattoo.
Yeah, you'll see later in the week, chat. And we had 4 crew members who got those last night. I don't know if I'm going to get one. We'll see. But shoot, I might regret it if I don't. We'll have to see. Up, and there is my timer. I got to make sure I plug this thing in. There we go. Excellent. Yeah, and here we go. It's charging at 25%. Beautiful. Yeah, let me get some more water too. Yeah. And Wolverine Maniac says you need one. You would say that, Wolverine Maniac. No, I'm thinking about it though. Yeah, almonds or what everybody's getting out here is like, I was here this summer, sort of a thing. So maybe I'll get that, or I don't know. I had a tattoo planned for before COVID, and then and COVID hit. I'd already put down a deposit for it and everything, and then artist moved away. So, yeah, maybe someday, but I don't know. It's not a priority for me at the moment. Okay. I didn't get my deposit back, Anonymous. No. I kind of forgot about it. Like, things got really chaotic at the beginning of COVID. And that's when I started streaming, too. So, I don't know. My mind was elsewhere. I got onto Twitch and never looked back. And it was a non-refundable deposit, too. So I don't think I could have gotten it back even if I tried. Yeah. And yeah, let's see, what did I want to get? So, well, shoot, I'm hesitant to tell you because I think it's a cool idea and somebody's going to steal it if if I tell you, but I guess I'll tell you. You know, ever since I was in like middle school, I've been designing T-shirts, and that's actually how I used to make my living back when I was in Montana, as I design and print T-shirts and other merchandise and sell it to museums, museum gift shops. It was cool. So I don't know. I've been doing T-shirts for a long time, so you know, expressing myself through imagery is something that I'm no stranger to. But I realized that after a couple years, I would always have some regrets about what it looked like. Nice thing about a T-shirt is you could just take it off. You can't do that with a tattoo. And so, you know, whether you're doing a life reconstruction of a fossil critter or something like that, you know, science is always advancing and changing, and something might look antiquated in a few years. And so I tried to find something that would prevent that, something that wouldn't be susceptible to that kind of outdatedness. If I found something that was already out of date and inaccurate, you know, then I don't have to worry about it. So, still on the same idea, I'm going to tell you a little story so it makes sense. Back in the 1870s and 1880s, there were these two American paleontologists who had this massive feud, sometimes called the Bone Wars. Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope. They hated each other, and they had this big rivalry where they had teams of workers that would go out into the field, out in places like here, like in Wyoming, in Montana, in the Dakotas, in Utah, Colorado, and they would like race to find the most and the biggest and the best fossils, and they made a lot of mistakes because they were working in haste all the time. And yeah, these guys were prone to making mistakes. One of the earliest mistakes, and one that kind of helped fuel the rivalry, was in the early 1870s, I believe, when Edward Drinker Cope had some fossils of an elasmosaurus, this really long-necked plesiosaur with the four flippers and the really long neck and the small head. You know elasmosaurus, everybody. And so he was reconstructing the skeleton, and he goofed. He accidentally put the head on the end of the tail. So it had this enormous, long, ribbon-like tail and this short, stubby neck, because he got it backwards. And Othniel Charles Marsh never let him forget that, and that's part of what fueled their rivalry. Part of the reason why they just hated each other. Anyway, my idea for a tattoo was the backwards elasmosaur kind of coiled around my forearm. Cope's backwards elasmosaur skeleton diagram with the text, "Everyone makes mistakes." That was the idea. Yeah. Anywho. And let's see. Yeah, anyway. Catch up to chat. See if we got any other questions. And Crimson Carnotaur says, what kind of stuff did you do in those early days of Twitch streaming before you were able to go out? Mostly just chatting, discussions, science, and new developments? So that's what I do when I'm not in the field to this day. I'll be back out in California at the beginning of July, and I'll be doing some office streams. That's kind of my bread and butter. When I'm not out here in the field, I stream in the science and technology category, talking about paleontology. I do a ton of Q&A, so answering people's questions about dinosaurs and other fossil critters, about natural history, evolution, extinction, all that good stuff. We go over new scientific papers, new publications, new discoveries in fossil science, talk about why it's important. And then I do a lot of anniversary streams too. And like other special days, like World Tapir Day, Manatee Appreciation Day, Whale Shark Day, stuff like that. And then anniversaries of the birth or death of famous paleontologists, like any excuse to be able to talk about the history of science, the history of paleontology. It's always a good time. And I do a lot of 3D printing, sometimes artistic projects. We might do 3D sculpting and printing, might do painting of 3D prints. And then occasionally I'll work on illustrations for publication too, live on stream. I'll do interviews with other paleontologists and discussions of like dinosaurs and pop culture, that kind of thing. Yeah, and every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, we'll play a video game. But those streams are not common. That's a rare one if you get to see one of those. When I first started streaming on Twitch, I did a lot of the same stuff, but, you know, it's kind of on a smaller scale with fewer resources. And I used to do a lot of fossil matrix picking, too, right at the beginning. Some of my first streams were like that. A little USB microscope going through fossil matrix, like microfossil stuff from the earliest Paleocene, just after the extinction event, started from Montana. So finding little mammal teeth and gar scales and salamander vertebrae, and even your occasional worn dinosaur tooth that got reworked into that earliest Paleocene stuff. All this, I think, was from Bug Creek Anthill in the Bug Creek Anthills in eastern Montana, Hell Creek Formation, or I guess earliest Fort Union Formation, but yeah. Anywho, oh yeah, and lots of other stuff too, like Thursday Birds Day and stuff like that. We do every Thursday, etc. Yeah. Yeah. And it was through the Saurian video game that I found you, says Dillbot. Well, well, well. It's good to have you here. Saurian's great. And let's see. And Crimson Carnotaurus. No, we did a Cope stream. Edward Drinker Cope. We talked all about him on the anniversary of his death. This was back in April. And we talked about the journey that his skull made across the country, visiting different paleontologists back in the early 1990s. That whole story with Luis C. Hoyos, who absconded with Cope's skull from the museum in Philadelphia and took it on this trek across the country so that different paleontologists, you know, in the early 90s could meet one of their heroes, now in skull form. That was a fun stream. Any plans to come to the Jurassic Coast? Not yet, iKicks, but I'd love to someday. I'm going to be streaming here in Wyoming until the end of the month, doing field work out here, and then in Utah from mid-July to mid-August. And then it's going to be back to California, and I've got some museum work and stuff to do there. And then my, you know, weekday office streams. 5 days a week, talking about fossil news, answering questions, all that good stuff. Going to be doing a lot more interviews, I hope, after I get back home, because I've finally gotten set up for that and don't have as many obligations, other things to get ready for. So that'll be fun, doing more interviews with other paleontologists. Yeah. And let's see. And there are birds out here in Wyoming. That's true, Samarfe. I've seen a few of them. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to echo what Arle is saying. Hey, Dad, I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. Yeah, Mods, you're doing a wonderful job. Appreciate you a lot. Thank you, especially when we're getting this elevated viewership out here in the field. Yeah. Ava Little says, what was the name of the dinosaur that was built backwards? Oh, I should have made clear, that's not actually a dinosaur. Elasmosaurus is a plesiosaur, which is a kind of marine reptile. So not a dinosaur, but from a different branch of the reptile family tree. It's a kind of plesiosaur called Elasmosaurus. That's the one that Cope made backwards. Yeah, and do I publish in academia? I do indeed, yeah. If I were back in my office, I could share some of my papers with you. But if you look up like Trirarchuncus, that's a good one. My first like new dinosaur paper. I'm an author on that one, and I'm working on a lot more. I'm currently writing 3 different papers for publication, and the first of which, the Spinosaur one, I'm going to get published ASAP when I'm done with the field season. Maybe even before, I don't know. I don't know if I'll have time to work on it for that brief little hiatus. Is that bone? No. Brief little hiatus when I'm back home before I go out to Utah. I probably won't have time for that, but we'll see. I'd have to skip some streams. Yeah. And Marmar says, are you able to tell which bones are dinosaur versus non-dinosaur out in the field, or does it require bench work? We can usually tell. And that's because in the rocks that we're digging in here, in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation, anything big is going to be a dinosaur. all of the big animals in this environment were dinosaurs. There were some crocodilians that may have gotten pretty big too, crocodiliforms, but they generally have pretty distinctive bone, so we can tell that it's croc out here in the field. And we can usually tell what kind of dinosaur it is just by the shape or the texture of the bone. Different kinds of dinosaur, different families of dinosaur will have different textures on the surface of their bone or on the interior of the bone. So like we can tell that's duckbill dinosaur over there because of the particular texture. It looks like ornithischian dinosaur texture, and then the shape of that jawbone that we have over there tells us that it's a duckbill dinosaur and not a ceratopsian. Not a horned dinosaur, but instead a duckbill. And yeah, looks like we've got a lot of people watching right now. This is fantastic. Yeah. And let's see. How often do you spot random bone fragments when you're wandering around talking to chat? Says Tanessa. I've done that a few times so far. Yeah, little bits of what we call float. It's like surface bone fragments out here. So the other day I found one live while we were streaming, but sometimes it just catches your eye, and no, that's rock. Yeah, we will find stuff that's probably eroded down from there. So if I go like toward this area, there's a higher likelihood that we'll find stuff that over the years, wind and rain and gravity have just kind of swept it down here, down from the site there. It's not uncommon. So that's lichen, trying to fool me into thinking that's bone texture. We've got some of this kind of concretion-y stuff. Can also be deceptive from far away, but obviously not bone up close. Yeah. But the stuff does pop up. It is here. And that's how we find these dinosaur sites in the first place. That's one of the most common questions I get is like, how do you find a site like this? Well, we look for fossil bone eroding out of the surface. We're in this lovely erosional environment out here. This windswept plain. We've got very few plants just kind of clinging to life. Although these are really happy this year. They've been getting a lot of water this spring, it looks like. So this area is much greener than it usually is. Usually it's very gray out here in Wyoming. Very gray and very brown. These plants are super happy. Yeah. Anywho, the point is, not very much plant material, not very much plant growth, rather. Lots of bare rock right there on the surface, just waiting to be walked over to look for bits of bone spilling out. Then, pretend this is a bit of bone right here. It's not, it's rock, but pretend that's a bit of bone. Oh, I picked that up right there. You kind of follow it up the hill. You look for more and more pieces, and then you try and find where it's spilling out of. And hopefully you've got a skeleton there. That's what we had here. And let's see. You in the middle of a desert, says Dovahkeen. Yes, indeed. This is what we call a high desert country out here in western Wyoming. We're about 7,000 feet above sea level. So that's like 2,200 meters above sea level. Pretty high elevation. And it is pretty dry up here, hence very scrubby vegetation kind of clinging to life, and lots of exposed rock. This is the sort of territory you want to prospect for dinosaurs in. Especially since these rocks are the right age to have dinosaur fossils from them. These rocks date to the Late Cretaceous period, about 73 million years ago. And does the green help or hinder finding the different color fossils? So Risudegu, the fossil color is a bad indicator of whether or not something is bone, because fossil bone can weather in lots of different colors. It can get sun bleached, especially in this kind of in this geological formation. The bone is hard to find. It's often it can be all sorts of different colors. It usually just looks like the surrounding rock. It's the texture and kind of sometimes the symmetry that you're looking for. You're just looking for stuff that's not rock. Yeah. And this stuff is so cool. Thanks for having me. You bet, Sports Hub. Absolutely. And for you and anybody else watching, shoot, we've got 1,200 people watching right now. Fantastic. Let me do a quick little station break to introduce everybody. If it's your first time here, let me introduce myself. If it's not your first time here, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. So you probably know already, I hope, that a paleontologist is a fossil scientist. A scientist who studies fossils. That's me. I work on fossils. Dinosaur fossils, in particular. Most paleontologists don't work on dinosaurs, because paleontology is the study of fossils in general. Any preserved remains of ancient living things. That's what paleontologists study. Dinosaur paleontologists study dinosaurs. And that's what we're digging out here in western Wyoming. We've got a duckbill dinosaur in our quarry, and we've been working at digging that up for a little over a week now. We've probably got about another week to dig it up before it's done. It depends how many more bones we find, really, and lots of other things. What the weather's like, how many crew members we have, all that stuff. But I'm here trying to share this with you. This is how I make my living, is through doing live streams. You could call me the world's first full-time live streaming paleontologist, and you'd be correct, as far as I know. This is the best way that I know of sharing my science with all of you, is through doing live streams from the field here. So I'm glad you could be here. It's a joy and a pleasure and an honor to be able to bring you out here to the field and show you how this works. And T. Starling Book says, this is amazing. Thank you. I'm really glad you think so. This sort of thing would not have been possible just a few years ago. But nowadays, we've got lightweight, portable satellite internet systems. Like here, there's that dish over there, and it's running off of solar power. This is, all off the grid. We're in the middle of nowhere here in western Wyoming. And so it's important to be able to be self-sufficient. And that's what I've been able to do out here, thanks to donations from this community. All of this gear was purchased with support from this viewer base. Thank you, everybody. Made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. And can you name a few of the best museums to see well-preserved dinosaur fossils? Janitor Mielos? Great question. Maybe be a little bit more specific about where, because there's different museums around the world where you can see all kinds of incredible fossils. So give me a narrower geographic space. Say like, the northern United States, or near the town of Cincinnati, or something like that, because there's too many to list. And Tanessa says you are an excellent science communicator. The chat moved. I wish there were more like you. Thank you, Tanessa. I really appreciate that. This is my passion, fossil science and science communication. The whole point of paleontologizing, this whole channel, is to try and make science come alive for people. Fossil science. I kind of get the impression that a lot of people in the general public have this impression that fossil science is some arcane, dusty, boring subject. Or even just the idea that it's like a body of knowledge, rather than that plus a methodology. Fossil science, paleontology, isn't just like a dusty book up on a shelf somewhere. It's something that we do. Fossil science, it's a verb. Paleontologizing. It's a methodology by which we ask questions about the world around us, and we try and find the answers through the discovery and study of fossils. Like all sciences, in paleontology we are testing ideas through the collection and analysis of different kinds of evidence. So we're finding fossils, and then we're describing those, we're figuring out what they are, we're piecing together all the different bits of these ancient ecosystems, we're painting a picture of what life on Earth was like long before we evolved, long before there were human beings or even large mammals. During the age of dinosaurs, our Earth was at the same time, very different, very alien compared to today, but very similar in a lot of ways too. That's really interesting, and it gives us perspective about what was here before us. Kind of perspective you can't get from anything else. That's why paleontology is so important, and I'm here to share it with you. We're doing some paleontologizing. And let's see here. Let me go drink some water, too. I got to remember to hydrate out here because we've got very low humidity, very high altitude, and it is hot and dry out here. So let me go get some water. Let me know if you got any questions, too. And if you've ever found human artifacts, chicken bacons was a few times. We found arrowheads and stuff. And at this particular site, one thing that we were really excited about was a bucket that we found. An old rusty bucket. And that indicates that this is one of those dinosaur sites that was discovered back in the 1930s. We think it was found by Barnum Brown, who was a famous dinosaur paleontologist who was working in this area in 1937. He dug up a few dinosaurs from here. Never named any of them, never published on any of them. There's a few that he found but left behind. We think this is one of those. Because we've got that rusty bucket, and very clearly somebody was digging here a long time ago. There were bones piled up on the surface, and very clearly they were like test pits that were dug before the site was abandoned. So we think this is one of Barnum Brown's old sites. And again, Barnum Brown is one of the more famous paleontologists to have ever lived. He collected dinosaurs for the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. He's the guy who discovered T-Rex back in the earliest 1900s. So, really well-known guy. He was kind of one of the first paleontologist celebrities, in a way. Yeah, he used to do radio broadcasts live from the field. So that was some kind of early science communication. And now I'm trying to take after him, doing the same thing, but with some more modern technology here. Not nearly the same resources that he had in terms of, funding and everything. All of this was funded by this community. So we're kind of freelancing it here, but I like to think that we're reaching an audience and inspiring people to learn more about the history of life on Earth, to be more appreciative of the natural world. That's what this is all about, doing live streams like this. And we won't leave any buckets behind. Exactly, Sibley. Yes. I had no idea he broadcasted from this same spot. Probably not this same exact spot, but from this same area. Presumably he would have had to go into town, like town of Green River or something like that, in order to be able to actually do his broadcasts. But they were on CBS, as I understand it. And I would love to be able to find recordings of that. I kind of doubt they exist, but man, that would be cool. If anyone in chat knows anybody at the CBS archives, maybe there's a chance that recordings of those exist from 1937. That would be pretty darn cool to be able to hear the voice of Barnum Brown talk about his work out here. I would be stoked for that. Well, yeah. Here, let me drink some more water. Put some chapstick on, too. The sun protection factor kind. I'll get that SPF. Yeah. And Miko says learning about dinosaurs is fun because we get to learn how they lived and survived. Absolutely. And again, that gives us perspective. We talked a lot about this yesterday, but learning why dinosaurs thrived and why they went extinct, except for birds, might help one day to promote our own thriving and prevent our own extinction. So it's important stuff, Paleontology is cool for its own sake, because of course it's cool to learn about these amazing animals that lived here on our planet long before us, and the whole environment that existed at various times throughout Earth history. But it has practical applications too. Think about asteroids. We now have a pretty good understanding that an asteroid strike is what ended the age of dinosaurs and drove dinosaurs into extinction, except for a few species of bird. Well, we can learn from from their sacrifice there. We can learn from their demise, to watch out for asteroids. We can be able to deflect those things and save ourselves if there's ever one headed toward Earth that looks threatening. So, dinosaur science is important. That makes sense? And, Gimplake, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Owl Morn says, what do you think fossil paleontology will look like in 100 years? Well, hopefully it'll still be around. Hopefully human civilization is still ongoing in 100 years. There's no guarantee with what we're doing to our planet right now. Again, that's why it's important to understand things like climate changes throughout Earth history. To see what happens when you have super rapid climate change. You get mass extinction events. The majority of life on Earth can die out because the climate changes too fast. We're currently forcing that. Like, we're making that happen right now. So that's why we need to have a major U-turn and stop that ASAP. Again, that's why this context is important. So hopefully there will still be human civilization in 100 years. And hopefully it's not, life that's nasty, brutish, and short. Hopefully we still have the societal wherewithal to do things like fossil science. But if we're able to change the course on climate change and all get along with each other and, have a bright and happy future, then I think fossil science in the future will be, obviously much more advanced than it is today. There will be new technologies that are created in order to be able to analyze fossils, like super precise CT scanning, perhaps. Like maybe isotopic analysis that's just with handheld devices. That would be super cool. But then we'll also have many, many, many more fossils. So we'll start to fill in a lot of the gaps that we have in studying the evolution of different groups of organism, so that we can, even better than we have today, we can see these animals evolve over time. Rather than just having a few sparse specimens here and there, and we have to try and make inferences about who evolved from whom. Instead, with more fossils, we'll be able to actually trace those lineages in a way that's obvious and immediate. That I find really exciting. And we'll be able to, with more fossils, we'll have a much better idea of, what these extinct animals looked like, what their behaviors were, what their ecology was, like what they're doing in a given ecosystem. Their metabolism, their level of intelligence, their social behaviors, stuff like that. There's so many different things that we know about, for instance, dinosaurs today, that we thought we'd never know as little as, 20 years ago. Never say never when it comes to dinosaur paleontology. We've been able to figure out stuff that we never thought possible before, and that's really exciting. And yeah, let's see. Scrolling. And Dave Nevius, it's not too late for prevention necessarily. There is some warming that's already baked in, but don't get nihilistic about this kind of thing. That's exactly what the fossil fuel companies want you to do. Don't play into their hands. Yeah, because carbon capture seems to be a complete dead end. And that's, fossil fuel companies want you to invest in that. So, we can keep emitting, carbon into the atmosphere, we'll just suck it all out somehow with magic technology sometime in the future. No, don't listen to them. Let's see. And FFEJ Warrior says, can you give me an explanation of the KT boundary? I'm so interested in seeing it someday in Colorado. Yeah, well, first thing is, that's not what we call it anymore. It used to be the Cretaceous Tertiary boundary, KT. We now call it the KPG, the Cretaceous Paleogene boundary, because that name tertiary was gotten rid of a while ago. The tertiary period was split into the Paleogene and Neogene. So now we say KPG, Cretaceous Paleogene. So this is a layer of rock that you find around the world that dates back to the extinction of the dinosaurs and about 80% of all other life on Earth at the very end of the Cretaceous period. And that coincides with the strike of this massive asteroid, or some kind of bolide from outer space. Could be a meteorite. It's almost certainly not a comet. It probably is an asteroid. Big rocky body from space, about the size of San Francisco, that slammed into the Gulf of Mexico right on the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula. and that caused massive tsunamis in the local area. It caused global wildfires. It ejected all kinds of dust into the atmosphere. You had that mixing with soot from these global wildfires to just block out the sun, we think. Cause almost like a nuclear winter sort of a scenario, an impact winter. So blocking out the sun killed the plants, which need, light from the sun to photosynthesize. By killing most of the plants, you also killed off the herbivores, the plant eaters. And then in turn, the meat eaters who feed on the herbivores didn't have any food. And so just complete ecological collapse both on land and in the oceans too. Because photosynthetic plankton, phytoplankton, they died. They're the base of the food chain. The zooplankton who eat them die. Then the little fishes die, the medium fishes die, the big fishes die, and on and on. Just a chain reaction until like 80% of life on Earth is extinct. The marker rock for this is the KPG boundary. So that was the rock that was laid down at this particular point. Below that, on land, you have dinosaur fossils. Above that, no more dinosaur fossils. And in the oceans, below that, you get plesiosaurs and mosasaurs and ammonites. Above that, gone. The plants changed, too, across the boundary. And the boundary was first recognized for one of the things that was recognized early on was high levels of an element called iridium. On the periodic table, it's number 77. It's got 77 protons. It's an element that's extremely rare on the Earth's surface, but it's very common in space rocks. And so that was one of the first clues that it was an asteroid or some sort of, space rock that hit the Earth and caused a mass extinction event. Then later the crater was found, on the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And that was kind of the smoking gun. This was an idea that was first proposed back in the 1980s. And at first, a lot of paleontologists and a whole lot of geologists were really skeptical of this idea. Because it's an extraordinary claim. And in science, an extraordinary claim, like, oh man, there was a giant space rock that hit the Earth and caused the extinction of, all the dinosaurs. That was a far-fetched idea. And in science, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But then that extraordinary evidence actually started to accumulate with further study. And nowadays, that's the general consensus, is that that's what caused the extinction event at the end of the Cretaceous period. And I'm just getting swarmed by bugs right now. This is annoying. Sorry, everybody. Swatting at these flies. Thank you for explaining that. You bet, FFEJ Warrior. Yeah. And there's still a lot of work going on this, too. When I say there's a general consensus, I don't mean that work is finished on it. Absolutely not. And there's still some controversy, too. There's still some paleontologists and geologists who hold that volcanic eruptions were actually more important in causing the extinction event at the end of the Cretaceous. But that viewpoint is becoming less and less common as the years go by, it seems. The evidence for the asteroid impact being the primary culprit in the KPG extinction, that evidence has just been mounting more and more with each passing year. And, that seems to be how things are trending. We'll check back in 10 years and we'll see where we're at then. But for right now, it seems like that's the direction that we're scooting in. And let's see, how do they determine what hit the Earth in that area? I'm guessing the size of the crater? You betcha. Yeah. That crater is what? It's like 90 kilometers wide or something? 110 kilometers? I forget. Type in !extinction and I've got a little write-up about that in the command. Maybe it's 90 miles wide? Anyway, the asteroid itself seems to have been about as big as San Francisco. So, big rock. Big rock. 93 miles wide. There we go. Yeah. Let's see here. And Dances with Dirt. Thank you for the 10 months. Or 3 months. 10 months. Thank you. And I thought the viewpoint virtually disappeared with the confirmation of the iridium layer. You still have some paleontologists and geologists who they're still really skeptical of the asteroid thing. Because on its face, it sounds wild, like a big rock from outer space. But, you know, that's what the evidence seems to show. We'll see as the science progresses, as new studies are made, as new evidence is found, as new papers are published and argued over. We'll see which direction the consensus goes. But right now it seems to be, if you were to survey dinosaur paleontologists today and ask them what was the mechanism for the KPG extinction, I'd say probably about 90% of them would say, the asteroid impact, the Chicxulub impact, named after a town right there on the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. And is it possible that some deep-sea creatures survived as well? I mean, they definitely did, Wichi Vranka, yeah. Lots of deep-sea creatures survived. It wasn't a total slate wipe, It's not like a solid 100% of animals on land and in the seas died out. There were definitely worse survivors. There are some species of shark that survived, some species of sea turtle, lots of species of teleost, so like bony fishes, rayfin fishes. And even critters like coelacanths managed to squeak through too. Those lovely lobe-finned fishes that are close to our own ancestry as tetrapods. All land-living vertebrate animals, what we call tetrapods, creatures with bones that live on land, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, they evolved from a lobe-finned fish, long before the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, obviously, evolved from that too. But one branch kind of came off of that, the coelacanths. They had fleshy lobe-like fins like our fishy ancestors, but they stayed in the water. They stayed nice and fishy, I guess you could say, to use a non-technical term. And a few species of them managed to survive the KPG extinction also. And we've got them today. They're rare and they're hard to find, but they're out there. Yeah. And Paleo Jim, hey Jim, it's great to see you. Welcome back, Jim. Oh, lovely. We got a cloud, some respite from the heat and the sun. Yes, but Jim, I hope you're having a good Sunday. It's good to see you. Everybody, that's Jim Kirkland, the Utah State paleontologist, Jim Kirkland, discoverer and namer of Utah Raptor. Jim says, anoxic events kill off deep ocean faunas periodically, not a refugia, hence no deep-sea trilobites. Paleo Jim, I'd never thought about it that way before, but yeah, makes sense. So yeah, the deep sea is not the perfect refuge that you might think it is, chat. Sometimes there's these anoxic events where you just have this sudden and dramatic lack of oxygen at depth, and it just kind of kills everything off. So, interesting that we've got that kind of a reset. That's not a safe place. I wasn't really aware of that, so thank you, Jim. I'm really glad you chimed in. And let's see. Mini Slurpee says, did you see that teen T-Rex fossil those kids found while hiking? I heard about that in North Dakota. Not the first time that some school kids have found a T-Rex skeleton. There's another famous one called Black Beauty that was discovered in the 80s, I think, by some boys hiking around. And you can see a replica of that, a cast, at the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco. My neck of the woods. That's like my hometown. And Paleo Jim says more than half of all our oil is tied to global anoxic events. I did not know that. Shoot. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. So, oil, for the uninitiated, petroleum, is formed from microscopic ocean organisms. Things like plankton, foraminifera, and maybe diatoms too. Tiny little ocean creatures that live and, they're doing their thing in the water column. And then when they die, they settle down to the bottom of the ocean in these big layers. They just get compacted in there. So they just build up, and then over time, it gets compressed. All that carbon in there gets squished and cooked into petroleum. So that's where oil comes from. A lot of people think it's from dinosaurs. Oil was formed, a lot of it was formed during the age of dinosaurs. A lot of it was during the Cretaceous, I believe. A lot of the stuff from like the middle of the US, some of that might be Cretaceous, and some of it might be Permian too. Yeah. So Jim is saying that a lot of that oil is formed during those anoxic events, when like, for whatever reason, there's just, you know, very little oxygen in the ocean all of a sudden. So all those critters can't breathe. They die off, and everything settles down, and all that carbon gets compacted, and eventually, with enough time, it gets turned into petroleum. And let's see here. Possibly tied to volcanic episode, hyper-fertilizing the sea. Interesting. That would make a lot of sense, that if you've got volcanic eruptions going off, and then you have like lots of nutrients suddenly coming down into the ocean, you could have like a super bloom of algae and stuff like that, or other organisms that consume oxygen. So like a big population boom, everybody's using up all the oxygen, and then it's gone, and then everybody dies. Huh. That's interesting. Although I don't think it would be algae. Algae produces oxygen, doesn't it? Or maybe algae is like a wastebasket group that some of it probably produces oxygen and some of it probably consumes it as it grows. I don't know. Sorry for doing a hokey pokey dance here, but swatting bugs and stuff. Something's been biting my legs right above the sock line as I've been sleeping at night. Some sort of sand flea or something like that, so I'm all itchy. And the flies seem to know it, and they're gravitating toward those spots. So I need to pick up some hydrocortisone cream the next time I go into town. Yeah. Anywho. Let's see. And let's see. And it could be Casey Snowart. Yeah, tiny burrowing bugs, that's probably what it is. And decomposing organics consume oxygen. That makes a lot of sense, Jim. So after the die-off of algae, all the stuff consuming that algae and decomposing it, yeah. Or maybe the decomposition itself consumes oxygen. Yeah. Oh, and there's a little piece of trash right there. Don't want that blown away. Let's pick that up. Leave no trace as much as is possible. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we got some jacketing going on. Shoot, we're missing this. Let's go check it out. Yeah. Wow, we got a plastering party. Didn't even realize it.
Just get it. Let's just jam it in there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Stick it on, Spence.
So this is one of those sacred rituals in the field. We just do this for fun. It's not actually useful, and I'm kidding. No, this is we're forming these protective jackets around the fossils in order to be able to get them safely back to the laboratory.
I can take them out.
No, that's good. You got it.
Let me
Another
know if
perimeter.
you guys need another set of hands. I can set the camera down.
No, we should be good.
Okay.
Overlap
Yeah.
all of this. See that opening?
So, like,
Right here.
Nice.
Go there. Boom.
And Lupus Ad says, "OMG, I love dinosaurs." Well, you're in the right place. We're digging up what's probably a new species or even a new genus of duckbill dinosaur here. And this is the messy but essential practice of jacketing. So right here we see Luke
we need another one.
putting some strips on there.
We probably will.
Okay. Well, this is two little ones.
Okay, I'll hold it, and then if you want to
So-
grab goop.
Let me briefly explain what's going on here. These fossils have been in the ground for 73 million years. And as soon as we expose them to the outside air after digging them up, they start to degrade. Stuff starts to fall apart. When it's exposed to the elements, stuff goes wrong. So you want to do what you can to seal it up. And then, once it's sealed up, you can take it back to the laboratory, unseal it there under controlled conditions, clean everything up, glue it, all that stuff.
Little strip.
So, what we're doing right here is called jacketing. So, right there, Josh has got a strip of burlap soaked in plaster of Paris right there.
Close?
Yeah. And so it's almost like creating a cast around a broken arm or a leg.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. This is a method that was first devised in the 1870s, I think, by Othniel Charles Marsh's crews during the Bone Wars. We've been doing it the same way ever since. This has not really changed at all, you know, since the late 1800s.
Goo, if we can get some goo.
I got you.
And so, doing my best to stay out of the way right here since I'm not jacketing myself.
Thank you, that's perfect.
The clock is ticking. As soon as you start mixing the plaster in with the water, that chemical reaction starts. And
Can you pass goo?
it starts to warm up, and it'll harden really quick, especially if the water is warm, if the water's been sitting in the sun all day like it has been.
Smooth it out a little bit. And then we'll
Perfect.
It's looking good, guys. This is looking good. Nice to finally have these things capped.
I know.
Yeah, I know they've been exposed for way too long.
Yeah.
Too long.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, and someone was asking if the denery has been jacketed yet. No, that's still over here. So I can still show you that. Our lower jawbone right here.
Is it?
We've got probably more skull bones throughout the rest of this, so this is an important piece we've got here. We've got some other bone elements there. I don't think we really have a strong understanding of what those are at the moment, but the field is not the place to do that
Do it
necessarily.
up.
You know, you can figure that out in the laboratory where it's safe. Yeah.
It's stuck, dude, for a long time. It's not going
There we
away.
go. Crimson Carnotaurus wants to know, how do those in the lab remove the coating? It's called a jacket. How do they remove the jacket without damaging the specimens? Use a cast cutter. So the sort of saw that was designed to cut a cast off of your broken arm, we use it on this. I don't know exactly how it works. It might as well be magic to me. But it's got like a blade that it like kind of jiggles back and forth like that. And so it's not supposed to cut your skin.
All right.
And likewise, it should cut through the plaster and burlap without damaging the rock underneath or the bone. But very nice. See? Classic, beautiful jacket here. Nice and smooth. You don't want any like parts projecting outward that are like sharp or jagged, because we're going to be carrying this by hand back to the vehicles. And so when you're struggling with like a multi-100-pound jacket, you don't want spiky bits sticking out because it'll just cut you up. So it's important to keep this nice and smooth like this. And they've done an excellent job of that right here. Yeah. Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. Cast cutters vibrate back and forth. Since skin is wobbly, it just wibbles along the blade, whereas plaster is rigid and gets cut. There you go. Thank you, Ms. Blue Skies. I guess it isn't magic, huh? Funny how, you know, when you actually look into it, it turns out to never be magic. And how far a walk is it? It's about a mile, Tico, so, yeah. Yesterday, these guys carried a really, really heavy jacket back to the vehicles. What was that like? How long did that take?
Yeah, at least an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably about a mile, right? Or something close to that?
Probably about a mile. Yeah, because it's like 15, 20-minute walk when we're not hauling heavy stuff.
Yeah. Sounds like about a mile.
And it's not the worst terrain, but it's definitely not an easy stroll.
It's not a walk in the park, yeah.
Not a walk in the park, no.
And what did you use in order to make that easier? Did you have the backboard thing?
Yeah, we had the backboard. We strapped that
Yeah.
on.
Nice.
Yeah, but still. you
Yeah.
know.
And doing that in the hot sun and everything can really take a toll on you, so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then, of course, another ritual, the removal of the plaster after jacketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My crusty hands.
Yeah. This stuff really dries your skin out, too.
It sure does.
Yeah. How did you manage to do that without getting the tattoo?
I don't know.
That's impressive.
I was just telling them.
Holy cow.
I was completely forgot about it.
Because
and
I
just-
thought I was going to take your place in jacketing today. I was waiting for you to like tell me it, not paying attention.
I
We
can't.
got
Yeah.
lost in the moment.
We all
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all kind of got
Well, it all seems like it worked out, so that's excellent.
Yeah. We're gonna
Yeah.
do. We're gonna let that harden up, and then we're gonna do a slightly small batch just
You
to
want to
finish
jump
up.
in on that small batch,
Yeah, if you want to.
Danny?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Because we just have to finish capping where those caudal verts were.
Very cool.
There,
Yeah.
So.
Let's see. You mean so the bits that are sticking out of that tall one there?
No, the one in front of it.
The one in front of it. To go around the sides, do the yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
you
just a
bet.
couple
We
more
do
pieces
have to
of it.
cover the little thing that's protruding off the side.
Yeah,
of
you've
the
still got some separator there exposed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but that'll be cool. And let's see, Zardy, hey, welcome to Western Wyoming. We're digging up dinosaurs here in the Late Cretaceous Almond Formation. And our home base, I guess you could say, is the Cincinnati Museum Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. None of us are from Ohio, but these fossils are going there because they agreed to be our repository. And we're really grateful for that because it's a big commitment to be able to like take these fossils, agree to clean them, spend all that time and money and person hours to do that, and then hold these in perpetuity in collections. These fossils will be there in the collections for hundreds of years, as long as American society continues, I guess. No guarantee of that.
Guarantees, though.
Thank you, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
But seriously, like as long as there is, ongoing society, these fossils will be there for study. That's the promise. So yeah. But yeah. It is a great partnership. I agree. SportsHub.com. Sounds like an advertisement. Yeah. And do we know what it is yet? Yeah, it's the duckbill dinosaur we got here. Yeah, Hadrosaur. We don't know what kind of Hadrosaur yet. Very good chance it's going to be a new species or even a new genus. So we're excited about that. But, yeah. This is how it works. This is how you dig dinosaurs. This is the real deal. So I'm glad you're here to see this. But yeah. And I've actually never been to the Children's Museum in Indianapolis. I was in Indianapolis for one day, and I had to choose a museum to go to. So I went to the State Historical Society Museum that had a bunch of fossil displays. I did a live stream from there. You can see it on the YouTube page. But I'd like to go back and go to the Children's Museum because they do have a lot of cool dinosaur displays and cool stuff in collections too. Yeah. And thank you, Science Streams, for being here and moderating and for your enthusiasm and support and everything else. Encouragement. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. And is this the part where John Hammond flies in? Tico, I wish. 50,000 a year. It's been well spent. Wish we had that kind of funding here. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So, give these guys a few minutes to recharge, and then maybe we'll do some more jacketing. LeBron says, look for Aurora tonight. We've been getting cloudy nights lately, but yeah. Have you guys heard that we're supposed to get auroras sometime soon?
I thought we were supposed to get it last weekend too, but we just didn't get enough
Yeah.
exposure.
Yeah. We had a lot of clouds and everything, but the stars are incredible and just like satellites zipping around everywhere. It's kind of nuts. Yeah. And Lordy, how are you doing? Welcome back. I hope you've been having a good weekend. It's good to see you. We're hard at work out here in Western Wyoming digging up this duck-billed dinosaur. And in just a few minutes, I'll probably put the camera down in a safe place, and you can watch me do some jacketing. I'll be putting some burlap and plaster strips on one of these jackets. We can get these things out of here and back to the museum. Yeah. And Paleo Jim says lab work is even less well funded. Yeah. I mean, at least the stuff that we're doing out here in the field is like immediately exciting to people who who would like to fund us, like our Twitch community here. A big part of our funding for this summer came direct from you, Twitch viewers, so thank you for that. It means a lot. We wouldn't be able to be out here in the same capacity that we are right now. We wouldn't be able to have as large a crew. We wouldn't have a ton of this gear if you hadn't purchased that off the Amazon wish list, for instance. So thank you. But yeah, field work is at least exciting. It's an adventure. It's kind of, flashy. Laboratory work oftentimes is not exciting in the same way, and so it can be even harder to find funding for that. You might think it's difficult to find funding for field work. Lab work can be even more difficult. Yeah. And Jas and Wiki, we don't do caves or tombs here. That's archaeology stuff. or paleoanthropology in the case of like caves. We're out here in the Badlands, digging here in the high desert, finding fossils on the surface because that's where you find them, and then digging in. Do you still have an Amazon wish list? I have a personal one, Melly Jade. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're an archaeologist, HS Sweet. Well. H Sweet, that's awesome. We've got a lot of archaeologists who have showed up here in chat. It goes to show how many more archaeologists there are in the world than paleontologists. We're a much rarer breed. Yeah, I say that with some degree of pride, I suppose. But archaeology is the study of human artifacts and ancient human civilizations, and modern human civilizations too. The artifacts that they leave behind. As human beings, we definitely have a tendency toward being interested in ourselves or other human beings. So there's a lot of jobs, a lot of funding for that kind of work. It's harder to come by for fossil science, even with critters as cool as dinosaurs, you know? Yeah. Let's see. Should we start doing some more jacketing? Yeah, let's do it. All right. So let me find a safe place for the camera here, where it's not going to fall over. And
Want me to be your cameraman?
I'll probably just make it stationary, but I appreciate it, Ken. Yeah. Yeah, if somebody's going to drop the camera and break it, I want it to be me, you know?
Fair. I also want it to be you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Josh. Yeah. So there's some of our precious water.
It's the last of it.
The last of it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I've got a full camelback if we need some more.
No, this should be plenty.
Okay, great.
We're not doing it too big of a round.
Yeah. Alright, let me find a safe place to set this down. Maybe put a rock up against the tripod so it doesn't blow over. Thanks. Yeah. It took a lot of practice finding the right components that all fit together correctly. Thanks. Yeah, cross your fingers it continues to work.
So here's the deal. We just need a few pieces here on the side of this one,
Okay.
of this stuff sticking out.
Yeah.
And then we just need some on the sides for this.
Uh-huh.
And then for this one, I just need a little bit of goo just to smooth it out.
Okay.
The top
Yeah,
there.
some goop there.
Yeah, and then
Nice.
that should be it.
All right. Don't walk back in the wrong direction. I'll try not to. Don't want to step on that. Yeah.
Put that right over there.
Nice. All right. Not going to be very responsive for a few minutes, chat. We're working here.
We are working.
The old wristwatch. And got our water. We got our strips.
Got the strips right there.
So oftentimes I like to kind of test the strips just to see. Like,
Yeah, totally.
one right here.
Can you hand me that scoop, Josh?
Second one right here. And then side strips for this.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4 at least.
Mix them again.
So that's
I keep forgetting the scoop isn't there.
up to
I'm
6.
an idiot.
That's right.
And then a little bit of goop. So we'll do 7 or 8 strips, probably just in case.
Nice.
I like that planning.
And
God, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So much more prepared
And I-
than us.
Yeah.
personally,
Jump in.
I like to soak the strips first.
Turns out, Danny knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. It's my 13th summer in the field. Although I guess I've only done, this will be the 12th for jacketing. Didn't really do much jacketing with those Cenozoic fishes in Nevada.
Yeah.
Diatomite quarry.
Soak technique. That's right. I want to watch this.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right.
So this is how I learned it at Museum of the Rockies. You soak the strips first, and you wring them out.
I'm gonna get out of the
I've always been told that this is the best method for getting the plaster to actually adhere to the strips.
It kind of makes sense to me.
And it also helps them from blowing away.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Water sticks to water.
yeah. At least that's the thinking. I don't know. It might be
I mean,
folk wisdom, but
I don't know.
it'd be nice to actually have a controlled experiment there. Figure that out.
Yeah.
So, did I have the right number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. What? do 7, 6, 7. Yeah.
Righteous.
Make it some burlap tea here. So as we dare each other to drink it afterward.
I will if you do.
Oh no.
Just kidding.
So
I
it begins.
absolutely will not do that.
So it ends.
I've done it before. It's like, it's just, I don't know. It just tastes earthy, dirty.
Yeah.
You know, we've also like run out of water and had to drink the burlap water
Oh man.
on a
Get it
few
where you can.
occasions. Yeah.
Have you had to make a jacket out of the clothes off of your back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to tear the sleeves off my shirt because we ran out of burlap before. Yeah, we did that a couple years ago too in Doling's Bowl, where
Yeah.
we just all sacrificed some T-shirts because, yeah,
You got to do it sometimes.
yeah. So yeah, I'll set this on top of here for
I'm
now.
on standby. Danny, you tell me where you want me.
Yeah,
I'll help you.
excellent.
Let's get those. Let's get those few first.
Those
and
first
we
so they
can
don't dry out. Yeah.
Move that way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get some plaster in there and start mixing it up. You got the ready, Ken?
So I got a little bit left in this bag. I'll probably have to open up the other.
Okay.
There'll be plenty to start.
Great.
If not enough. We might be good here. Spencer.
But we do need moral support.
We do
Nice.
need moral support, Spencer. So if you
Yeah.
keep cheering us
What are you
on.
trying to do right here, Danny? Or where were you trying to do?
I'll just go ahead and roll some in after you got it mixed. Yeah. So Chad, I don't know if you can see right now, but Ken is mixing up some of the plaster. Do this by hand. It's messy work, but you know, didn't come out here to be clean. And we need some thicker ones actually for that. So let me grab some different strips. Thank you. Nice.
Might be-
Looking good, looking good.
see how that works.
Oh, that is getting.
Oh yeah. We need a little bit of water. Huh? Yeah. Okay. I don't need water.
I've got some water for you if you need it. But yeah, that is thick.
Dude, nice.
Yeah, that should probably do it.
Nice.
That's getting better.
Excellent. Cool.
Right behind you, Danny.
All right. Yeah. It's probably about good enough. I can start
Okay. I'll just keep
rolling it up in there. Yeah.
trying to make it a little
Ah,
bit
the
better.
rolling method. Nice.
Yeah. All right. And then take this here. And then yeah, if I could just have you kind of like crimp it onto there.
I'm just gonna finish
Excellent.
this one.
Yeah. Thank you, Josh.
Just need a little bit.
Get rid of some of my sharp
Beautiful.
edges.
All right.
It's all good. It's not the most fragile thing. In fact, it's like not fragile at all.
So, plaster's a tiny bit on the thin side, so we'll want to grab some of the goop afterward and thicken it up after it starts to set.
Here, I'm gonna grab some goo real quick
Awesome.
for you. Goo. Goo. Give me goo. Goo. The goo.
Gabagoo.
It's a gabagoo. Yeah, there. Hey, there it is.
Chat. Turns out Spencer is phenomenal at like doing Tony Soprano, so we've all been really enjoying his renditions. All right.
This is a little thinner,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So I'm gonna
slightly
overlap a little bit over here.
It was like almost like this is the seam, so it's very, very close. If we want to get something right here,
Okay. Yeah.
but maybe that.
Yep. And this nose sticking off right here, we're gonna want to reinforce that a little bit too. Is that enough length you got there?
Plenty. That's
Good,
beautiful.
okay.
That is beautiful.
Good. 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 All right. Nice.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful, eh? All right, then.
Good night.
Oh, it's a right pretty jacket we got here.
That's a pretty good jacket, mate.
I got it. Here's another strip for you guys.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just gonna stick this over here. Kind of a little skirt like that.
Got you on this side.
Yeah, nice. That should do it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Ready for the next one, Danny?
Yes, I am. Thank you. All right. Thanks. Side strip like this. Nice. Yeah, it's a nice consistency now too. Just needed to set up for a minute.
Are you able to pass some goo?
I gotcha.
I need goo.
Please give us the goo.
Please give me goo.
I gotcha.
We are in need of goo.
I need goo. Nice.
All right.
Danny,
Thank you. Yeah.
there should be one more after that, right? Or you got
Yeah.
2 more?
Maybe 2 more, yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Ken. There we go.
We're gonna have an excess of goo, and it is setting fast. So if you need any,
All right.
please.
Maybe
come
we'll
get
get a couple more strips. Yeah. Thank you, Ken. See this on this side. Like that. I like that.
Who is that? Is that Chris Farley?
I don't know.
That sounds
I
pretty
like
Farley-ish.
It sounds like Chris Farley.
You guys need more goo?
I think we're good over here.
Okay. Nice job, fellas.
Yeah.
Danny, you ready for it?
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Is that gonna be good, or you need one more?
If you think you have enough, if you can work it into the burlap, it's going to be tricky though because
Yeah,
it's really
we're-
setting up.
We're sitting pretty close, and I think that's the last one you.
Is that the last strip?
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
okay.
good.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we can use some of the goop to just kind of smooth over the surface, maybe. Thanks. Yeah.
I even have some that's still a little wet right here.
Excellent. Thank you. It'll be good to work into this part.
Yeah, it's pretty much all crumbled now.
Yeah.
I can try to find a little bit more if you need.
No,
Oh, here
we're
we
good.
go.
We're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this off my hands.
Excellent. All right, great. So at a certain point, yeah, nice job, fellas. All right. Yeah, cool. All right. So just plaster by itself is not going to be helpful in protecting something like this. You need the burlap under it. So that's why we soak the burlap in plaster. Is you get rigidity from the plaster, but you need like tensile strength, and that's what the burlap provides. So those two combined, all right, give you this nice protective cocoon. You could slap a ton of plaster over the top of this, but you'd just be adding weight without adding extra strength. So, yeah, we've got some extra plaster in there. We're just going to let it dry. We're not going to try and smooth it onto this. It's not going to do anything, if that makes sense. Yeah. Take a look at chat here. And yeah, it's like rebar and concrete. Exactly, Frozeniak. Yeah, yeah. And will you flip it over today? We probably will, Anonymous. We'll see. You guys think we're gonna do some jacket flips today too?
You gotta come do some more mapping.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we'll flip them and cap them tomorrow.
Nice. All right. Flipping and capping on the morrow.
Except for that little chip soda we're taking out.
Yeah. Nice. It's looking good.
Half chip soda, half plastic.
Nice hybrid, yeah. Yeah. I wonder what's in there. Oh man. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. All right. Hands are just about clean enough. I can pick you up now, chat. And here.
Nice.
All right. Hopefully I didn't jostle any of the cords too much. You can still see me. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. And will we cover it with a tarp in case of rain? Yeah, Justin Wiki. Or at least we would if we had a tarp here. Actually, I don't think we have one at this site. But that's our standard procedure. If we had more tarps, we would tarp this overnight just to make sure that in case it rains, we don't have a disaster. And Frozen Yak says, is the undercutting and flip the scariest part? Yeah, the flip in particular. That can be a heart-pounding moment. Because sometimes just the rock is unconsolidated underneath and you don't really have any idea and it all just spills out. I don't think I've ever been on a team that's had a truly disastrous flip, but we've had some flips that have been not ideal in the past. You got to make sure that you undercut it really well, and you'll see that later in the summer. I'll show you how that works, so you can witness that firsthand. And Captain Ignore, we've got a duckbill dinosaur here. Yeah, a Hadrosaur. Chances are it's going to be a new species, if not a new genus. So pretty exciting. This is a scientifically important specimen. And hopefully in a few years you'll be hearing about this in the news. New kind of duckbill dinosaur from southwest Wyoming, from the Almond Formation. Because we don't have any dinosaurs named from the almond yet. Chances are anything we find here is going to be new. Stands a very good chance of that, at least. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. And this is an amazing use of Twitch, says Sea Cucumber. Thank you. What a great name, by the way. Nice echinoderm name. Welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. Normally, I'm streaming back home from my office for like 9 months out of the year, talking about new fossil discoveries, answering questions, talking about why fossils, natural history, evolution, extinction, why all that stuff is so important to understand. And then doing interviews with other paleontologists, doing artwork and 3D printing and sculpting and all that good stuff. That's what I do when I'm not out here in the field. But, it's summertime, so I'm out here in the field, digging up dinosaurs. This is what I normally do during the summers anyway, and now I get to stream it too, which is incredible. So I'm broadcasting to you live via satellite. We've got the dish and the solar panels and the solar battery over there. And what a privilege to be able to do this kind of outreach. I'm so glad you're here. And we are going to wrap things up. Because I think I got to get my gear packed up and we should get out of here by like 6 p.m. So let me confirm with the guys. That's our timeline. And then we'll think about wrapping up here. Yeah. Is our plan here to get out by 6 p.m.?
Sorry? Yeah, Ethan said he's going to be here at 5:30. Going to come do paper map, and then we're all going to head out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to wrap this up then. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
No, all good.
Yeah. Anywho, so glad you could be here today. I've got a lot of work to do, cleaning up, packing up the gear, and then starting to march it back to the vehicle. So, unfortunately, it is time for goodbye right now. But thank you, everybody, for another wonderful stream. I hope you had a ton of fun today. I hope you learned something. I hope hope we've helped inflame a passion in you for natural history, for learning about just this incredible pageant of life on Earth that we're part of that goes back 4 billion years. It includes stuff like dinosaurs that we're digging up here. With any luck, I'll be streaming to you again tomorrow from a different site, showing you more live dinosaur dig action. But until then, all you take care of yourselves, and let's see who we can raid right now. Plaster all over my hands. Here we go. Let's see. Stream manager. Watch who is live on Twitch at the moment. Volcano Doc is on. Well. Let's go say hello to Volcano Doc, who is a live volcanologist, a fellow Earth scientist, fellow geoscientist here on Twitch. And we are going to go flabbergast her with a gigantic raid. So let's do that. Volcano Doc is Dr. Melissa Scruggs. She, like I said, is a volcanologist, so prepare your volcano questions. And we'll go say hello. Raid Volcano Doc. Nope, not Colcano Doc, Volcano Doc. There we go. Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for your enthusiasm, for your questions, for your kind words, and for your financial support. I could not be out here if it weren't for that. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, mods, for your hard work, too. I appreciate it. Thanks for keeping this train on its tracks and keeping this a safe and welcoming environment for everybody. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Hopefully tomorrow we'll do another stream live from the field. Till then, everybody, you take care of yourselves. Let's go say hello to Volcano Doc. Bye-bye.